What is going on, people? Welcome to Friday, another episode of Heavy Metallurgy. We're on episode number 233. We've got an awesome guest today. Our amazing co-host, Alan, is not on the show tonight, but he is in the dugout sharing your comments with the, just like that. That was him, not me. So Alan's there helping. He's moderating the chat tonight. And Jeff Wagner, it's amazing to see you, my friend. How have you been? Obviously not great, but things are turning the corner.
Well, yeah, if you asked me that 8, 9, 10 months ago, definitely not great. It's been 11 months since the horrible tragedy, and definitely better. Things are looking up, and things are looking positive. We're having moments of normality again.
Good.
I'm talking
Hard
to one
fought.
of my best friends, Marty, and it feels good.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got this book coming out. That feels fantastic because that was actually quite a bit delayed by the fire. So yeah, happy. I mean, generally, days are good now. So
Well, it's great to see you. And this is a good time for celebration. I just finished the book about 2 hours ago. And I got to say, you could write. I was talking to King Folly before this, and I said, Jeff could write a book about toe fungus, and I would devour every word with interest.
it's
And
funny you mentioned that, Marty. I was I was just going to announce my 5th book is going to be about toe fungus. Great little band out of Louisiana.
yes, that's great. And
Thank you. That's a compliment. You're one of the few who's it's out at different journalists right now for review. But you're the first person I've heard from on the kind of outside that hasn't read it, that has read it. So I'm really I'm happy you liked it. Yeah.
well, there's been, we've had almost 30 years that we've known each other and
Mm-hmm.
co-worked together and
Mm-hmm.
co-commiserated. And, Voivod is a topic that we've both very passionate about. You
Yeah, for
probably
sure.
far more than most people on the planet. And honestly, after reading this book, I just read the last word. I'm like, there was not a better person in the world to write this book. There just
Well, thank
wasn't.
you.
So
Thank you.
I guess first of all, this book it's been a long time coming, and the fire certainly had its hand in trying to slow it down.
Yeah.
How long has this been in the process from concept to actually getting started?
Wow. I mean, yeah. Probably 2019 when I left Inside Out Music, the label, and decided I was going to work on 2 books at the same time. It was going to be Fate's Warning and Voivod. What I found out real quickly was you don't work on 2 books at the same time. At least I don't. I don't.
God.
Maybe people like James Patterson do or whatever, but I certainly could. I started and then I realized that's almost impossible. There's just too much brain splitting that you would have to do, too much research into both. I mean, of course, I've done all the research in front of the hi-fi. Like I know the music, but it's more like the talking and the interviews and the transcription and putting it all together as a story, as a cogent story, coherent story. I found that the Fates Warning book just sort of took a life of its own quicker than the Voivod one for some reason. And then I just followed that line. So the Voivod book kind of got put on the back burner. The band themselves and their manager, James McLean, were not in any hurry. There was no deadline. They knew it was my project and mine alone to deal with. So I just decided to kind of do Fates Warning front burner, Voivod back burner. So once the Fates Warning book finally came out in 2022, that's when I really started work in earnest on the Voivod book, like getting it done, putting all the pieces I had together. And then so that took about 2 years, as a book should, I think, especially one of this size. This thing's like 540 pages, 3 pounds. It's going to be massive. This is the I don't know if you can see the thick. This is the printout of the book my final proof. It's quite thick. I hear.
Yeah.
There we go.
Wow.
So it's huge. It's huge, and it took a while. And then I was telling you offline that um, I was talking to Away and James a good bit in the lead up to getting the book finalized, getting everything done I needed to get done, getting the cover done. I had an idea for the cover that I wanted to employ, and then the fire happened, and everything stopped in my life. Absolutely everything. We lost animals, we lost our belongings, we lost our beautiful, beautiful house, we lost our life. But I don't know why, but as I was in the ambulance, um, that night, we escaped the fire in the middle of the night. I got out my phone, and the first person I texted wasn't a friend, wasn't a family member. It was away from Voivod and James, their manager. And I emailed them. I said, the book's going to be delayed a little while. We're having a massive fire. It seems funny now. I'm not sure why I thought that was the most important thing I needed to do at the time, but I just thought, well, this will get me off the hook for a few months, while I can regroup. And then it did take a good 4, 5, 6 months to get really back into the book and everything. And but once I did, yeah, and it was healing too, to kind of just finish it up,
Yeah.
get the cover done, work with I got to mention Patrick Crawford, this layout artist I worked with through the whole book, did a fantastic job, sort of like employing, kind of taking my ideas and putting them into reality, and then putting his own ideas in. So it was a collaborative effort on how this thing looks. And yeah, I'm just happy it's out. I'm happy it's out, and all of that's behind us. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've done this a couple times now. And I'm reading the book, and, the Fates Warning book, and I'm just kind of in awe of all the moving parts. And, when you're tackling a legacy band like either Fates Warning or Voivod, I mean, where, for a guy that is completely unorganized, and, procrastination is the mother of invention, that will be on my tombstone someday. Where do you start? I mean, what is there intimidation involved? I mean, it seems like when you're standing at the bottom of that hill, it's like an insurmountable task. Where do you begin in such a process?
Yeah. I mean, I've had that dilemma. Maybe you have too, with just writing articles, like we used to for zines and magazines. Then when I wrote my first book, Mean Deviation, I had that problem of kind of that staring at the white page thing that an author does. Like, what's the first word? What's the first sentence? How do I start? You find a way every time, but it's always a different entryway. It's always a different gateway. And for Voivod, it was really interesting because and this happened with Fates Warning, actually. I hadn't really thought about it, but I started with the albums that I liked the least, because I know so much about Nothing Face and that era, right? I could recite that in chapter probably in my sleep, in terms of what I know about it,
Yeah.
and everything that they went through, and the music itself. With something like Negatron, it's something I haven't listened to as often because it's just not one of my favorites, and I don't know as much maybe about that era. So I was like, I want to find out. Same thing with Fates Warning. I went into the FWX era because it was the album I liked the least, and the era I therefore know the least about in terms of what was happening in the band at the time. So I started with these chapters that would sort of engage me as a fan who wanted to know everything, right? And that's really where it started. And once it starts, for me, with any of these books, once it starts, it doesn't stop. It's like a freight train. I just have all these ideas, and like, my wife can attest to, like, I'll be sitting there watching Jeopardy and be like, oh, I need to do this, and I'll write notes on my phone, or I'll just keep it up here. I'm just constantly thinking about it, so it sort of rules my life.
Well, I guess step one then would be a fan. You got to be a fan. And, knowing you over the years, you're very studious when it comes to things that you love, whether it's baseball or beer or, whatever. And Voivod, I mean, you probably knew more than most people did. So, I mean, what was it like getting full access to the band, and how much access did they really give you, to be honest?
Oh, I mean, I had a shit ton. I talked to every living member except Blackie. I did approach Blackie. We can talk about that as a side thing if you want. But
I had a question. I had a question about it. Yeah.
Sure.
But,
they gave me
however,
they gave me absolute access. I don't know how many email conversations and phone conversations I had with Away. I think it was maybe a total of 12 interviews, like on the phone.
mm-hmm.
Snake, I probably talked to 8 or 9 times. Jason Newsted, I talked to a couple times. Of course, Rocky and Chewy from the new lineup. Yeah, they just gave me total access. Like if I didn't, I didn't know where Eric Forrest was or how to get a hold of him, but they gave me access to him, and everybody was very, very happy to talk. So I had, Away opened up all his art files to me, and yeah, a lot of access. And as a fan, of course, it was a blast to be able to pick their brain about anything I wanted to at any time.
And you did mention Blackie, and for those who haven't read the book, he is represented in the book. But how did you navigate the fact that you're missing one of the 4 horsemen, essentially? One of those characters who had a very big part in sculpting the sound of the band And
He absolutely did.
he was a
He's
good 50% of the songwriting at the the way he interacted with Piggy at times.
I'd give it Piggy 60, Blackie 40
40,
from what I
yeah.
know. Although I'm not gonna throw Blackie under the bus. I have no need to. He's a bass hero of mine. I play bass, and I learned. I think I mentioned this in the intro that I learned by ear playing bass to various Voivod songs, and he was one of my lodestars in terms of teaching me not only how to do things in a different way, but just tone and approach and creativity and thinking outside the box. So I think a lot of him as a bass player. But I went into this project knowing I probably wouldn't get him because there's this infamous sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a feud, or there's just like tension between the band and him.
It sounds very unfortunate,
It's very unfortunate. I don't point fingers in the book. I let others do it for me, as you probably read.
Yep.
Um,
But even
but
they were pretty respectful. I'm sorry. There is not, you go into a book and what sells? Drama sells. And people flock to the drama. And there, there's some things talked about in the book, but the book doesn't go there. And it's just nice as a fan, since teenager, going in, and the way I thought these guys were, they kind of are. They seem like really creatively complex people, but as human beings, they're really genuine and loyal and awesome people.
yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And yeah, I approached Blackie to talk, and he turned me down, and that was it. I made the approach, and I let him know the door was always open. And yeah, I will say after the fire, he was one of many members of the band, past or present, who were very very kind about what happened and very empathetic. And I didn't expect that from him. I didn't expect that at all because I hadn't talked to him up to that point for like 2 years. I approached him like years ago, so he came out of the blue to do that. And I thought, well, everything I've heard about him is not always so great, but like there's a shred of decency in him, and I'm not gonna disparage him in the book.
Yeah.
I want to mention that the quotes in the book are from an existing interview with Greg Godin. I cited those in the endnotes. That's a completely legal thing to do,
Yep.
as long as you cite the source, which I always do. And that's how I got him into the book. And I tried to contact Greg, but he's not to be found. So I figured I'd just go ahead and do it, because I need some of his voice in the book as well. So
Yeah. And what, I was also curious, what kind of impact do you think it had on the book not having direct access to Blackie? Do you think it
well, I don't know. I mean, I'm it might be a better book for not having access because I'm not sure what all kind of negative stuff he might have tried to say and tried to get into the book, and so that would have been more of a struggle than I would have wanted. I don't totally believe everything on his side of the story. Um, I think he said some things that were a little too disparaging or just untrue from what
probably out
I
of
know.
anger?
From
Yeah.
what I know, so yeah, I just wanted to kind of leave that alone. So I don't know. I don't think it had a whole lot of impact. I think I was able to tell the full Voivod story the way I did without him.
And it's actually quite masterful how you handled the book. I mean, there's a similarity too with the Fates Warning book. It's kind of like taken on the approach of what, an oral history, I guess you would call it. I really like how you would interject, you would kind of set the scene, and then you had obviously complete access to the band and people, satellite folks that were connected with the band in some way, like producers or, but then you had like a list of people. I was curious what, you had Tommy Niemeyer from The Accused in there, you had Grudela from Enslaved, Michael Ackerfeld, Christopher from Therion. Why these folks? I mean, yes, there was some connections. They toured with, played some shows here and there with Voivod, and I was curious who made the cut to be in the book. Oh, King, our friend King, is also in the book. Obviously, one of the biggest
Yeah,
Voivod fans on the planet. That makes
sure.
sense.
King File, of course. I mean, yeah, Sean Glass we know him most probably in our world from Syndrome. I feel like I just knew over the years that all these people were Voivod fans. I know Grutla from Enslaved. We've talked Voivod. Angel Rat's one of his favorite albums. I feel very strongly about that album. It was just easy. It was just kind of a easy to pick. Oh, like who are these Voivod fans that are in peer bands or even newer bands? And in the case of Michael from Opeth, Like, he's starstruck by these guys. Arguably, Opeth are a more commercially viable entity than Voivod right now. They're playing huge places, and they are Opeth. They are what they are, but he's a huge fan. So that's all that drove it. It didn't matter like how big or how little the band was. It was more like, who's a Voivod fan, and I also wanted to get a good spread of people, like Tommy from The Accused. They come from the more punk hardcore side of things.
Yeah.
Nicholas from Anecdoten, they come from the more prog side of things, and everybody in between are in some spectrum of the metal world. It was just that. It was just who I wanted to talk to. I mean, it really wasn't. I don't think the guys in the band fed me anybody really. Like, oh, you should talk to the guys in Killing Joke, or you should talk to whoever. I just chose them because I'm well aware of all these people being Voivod fans and probably having a lot to say about them. They sure did, because their voices are heard throughout the book.
And it's cool too, because you kind of stuck with that core group of people too. You would always circle back around and you get very used to the flow of it that way, the setup of it. And it feels like you're kind of within the conversation when you're reading, which makes it, very engaging, which obviously you've had some experience doing at this point. So I got to say, from a person, I think it would appeal to people that may be on the fence about Voivod. The book reads really well, and there's a lot of interesting things to uncover here. And it's nice to hear a band that's so talented and unique, their struggle over the years. Because, yeah, there's a lot of highs in their career, but, life struggles, of course. I'm talking about being the oddball in a music scene that gravitates towards herd mentality,
Yeah, I mean, they've always been the odd band out. They've always been the band that were kind of like left of center, even if we're talking about metal as a kind of a misfit genre already.
Yeah.
And you run into lots of really knowledgeable metal fans who know the genre's history deeply. A lot of them don't, or you have a certain segment that just don't get Voivod. They're just like, I never really got into them, and I've always accepted that, because I know they're different. It's one of the reasons I love them so much, but it's also something I have to accept and not and understand they're never going to be everybody's band. That's okay.
Yeah. And one thing I was curious about, I mean, having kind of getting to know the guys on more of a personal level through doing this book, and obviously they're odd. They're a strange legacy band. They're like one of those bands that just, like Watchtower. I mean, there's a band that's super technical, super unique. They burned hot, but they didn't burn long. They burned brightly but short. Voivod has maintained a legacy. And getting to know Away and Snake, what is it, that passion, that drive? Where do you think that comes from? I mean, everybody, yeah, good work ethic, sure, that's an easy answer, but to have so much belief in that music, what do you think it is?
I guess if I had to pin it down, I think it comes down to Away's drive. I think Away was born to do nothing but this. I feel like his life was going to lead him on a path of something exactly like this.
Yeah.
Had he not met Snake, had he not met Piggy, I feel like he would have formed something of this magnitude. I feel like it's Away's drive. He's the only constant member. Obviously Piggy would probably still be here if he hadn't passed.
Yeah,
But
you get that impression. He was a lifer for this band, for
yeah,
sure.
but such as it is, I mean, it's Away's drive, and I think he's the spark plug. He's the anchor. He's the engine. He's everything in terms of not directly necessarily where they'll go musically. That's always collaborative, but I feel like Away is the one that just kept the hunger and the spirit going and going and going and going and going. No disrespect to Snake, but he left for a little while, and Away and Piggy saw fit to keep it going. And the fact that they stuck it out through some really lean years, like they didn't quit. They were playing small places in the late '90s to not that many interested people. After their huge rise, and then the peak of Nothing Face and all the tours they got there with Faith No More and Soundgarden, and then Rush, like they just they kept going, and I think it was just about wanting to see where Voivod was going to take them. Like, where do we take this creature? Where do we take this music? Where do we take this imagery of ours? This world building exercise of ours? where do we take it? How, what? And I think they were curious what was going to be around the next corner, almost as if it was driving them. So that's a long-winded way of saying I think it's a ways the driver. Yeah.
Yeah. And getting back to the lean years thing, it kind of put it in perspective. The interview, I think it was with the manager, where Jason threw it out there in that interview he was with. Yeah, I'm joining Voivod, and the manager saying, "You realize what you're saying here, right? Big rock star guy. This is, these guys are still in the van."
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Really put it in
You're used to
perspective.
having your own bus.
Yeah.
We don't even have a bus.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah. So. Yeah, and he got and that's you got to give Jason Newsted a lot of credit.
Absolutely, man. What a soldier. What a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He cares very much for this band and always has and always will. I think he's a superb human being with a lot of integrity. And I think a lot of his stuff in the book has really helped the book a lot. His viewpoints, both as an insider, but also just as a fan.
And I got to say too, one little tip for when you folks start getting your books come in. One thing I did when it gets to where Jeff starts going through the discography, I would get my phone, I'd sit next to the chair and put on whatever album they were talking about. So it was playing in the background as I was reading along with it, which is great. They're talking about certain songs and that song might actually be on the phone at the time. I'm like, man, this is the way to read this book. I went along and it took, the chapters are lengthy. So I'd get through 40 or about 60, 70% of each album as I was reading the books. And it's a great interactive way to read this book. And it really kind of brings it all home. You're kind of sucked into that era with the band at the time that they're discussing each album. So a little tip for those getting into the book, I would say, listen to the albums as you are reading the book. It heightens the experience for sure.
All right.
It's funny. There's a lot of things that came up in the book, and the whole Jason era. I remember when the self-title came out, I was so excited. We'll get into this when we start going through the albums, but I was so excited when Snake was back in the band. And as you know, you and I have had this discussion a lot. I struggled with Voivod a bit when they started to get more rock. I'd had to mature a bit as a listener before I can go back to this album now and say, you know what, I really do like this album. You and I had the discussion, you'd be like, you got to give Angel Rat another try. I'm like, dude, nope. But I'm there now. But listening back to the Jason years, I listened to that day, the self-titled a lot when it came out, and just, he's not Blackie, but he had a great massive tone and just the drive in his playing. Those songs are heavy. They're heavy.
Yeah.
And when they go off into these Voivodian tangents, it's like, there it is. And it's a nice transition. They walk the line really well in that whole era. So, I mean,
I'm glad you're saying that about it. Yeah. I'm glad you're saying, I've always liked the album. I have a couple little nitpicks about it. One of them is very vocal in the book, and James, the manager, responds, and it's about how high Snake is mixed. It's just nerdy shit,
and his answer is completely, he's right. He's right.
Yeah. The guy that mixed it had worked with Metallica. He was used to doing like sort of vocal forward stuff. I mean, fair enough, Yeah. And they were more rock. So again, fair enough. I think it's a great album, and I think it's really too bad. I mean, Couture's and Infinity are what they are just because they have to be. I think Couture's is the stronger one, but they don't really count to me as what we might have gotten had Piggy lived. I really feel like it's too bad we didn't get more of that Newsted era to just see where they would have taken that.
A little more collaboration in the end product would have been interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know they wanted to make the stuff more progressive. As simplistic as Piggy was writing, it's gonna come through that Voivod funnel, and it's gonna be weird to some degree. So anyhow, I love that era. It's a short-lived era. It's an underappreciated era, but I think the self-title is actually a very strong album.
Yeah. And Couture's, I don't think I listened to that album since it came out. And I remember being a little bit disappointed with it, but coming back to it, newfound appreciation for it. I think they picked the best songs of that whole session, and there's some good ones on it. It's good. It's surprisingly sounds really good. It's just weird, but okay. There's a bunch of stuff as we get going through the book that a lot of things I realized that I always kind of taken Voivod for what they are. They sound They have their own sound. They're Voivod. I never sat and thought about it much, but people talking about the punk mix, and man, going back and listening to it, it's true. I mean, that the debut album, War and Pain, there's a lot of Venom on there, and of course there's a lot of punk in Venom. So it's just one of those things I never really processed that much. I mean, they're an early crossover band in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I remember from the early days, they were one of those, along with Metallica and Slayer, that punks thought were okay.
Yeah.
And I'm talking early Metallica, obviously. There was just something about them that were just way more raw, way more edgy, way more feral, about them that punks responded to. And, look, I mean, guys in Slayer and Voivod were punk fans. I mean, there's no
Yep.
doubt. I mean, whether it's Broken Bones or Discharge or GBH or whatever. But they were all, even back in the War and Pain days, they were all feeding off so much different music. Piggy came, he was already into Gentle Giant and Yes and Rush in those days, but none of the guys in the band could quite play that yet. They wanted to. They
Yeah.
really felt that even early on. I mean, this is in the book as well, but like they wanted to be more progressive, but they just really didn't quite know how. So you sort of take that that Venom influence,
Yep.
see what you can do with it, and then just crank it up a few notches album by album until you have the ability to express more. So I love that early feral Voivod stuff. I mean, I think it's so great, the first two albums. Yeah,
it
what
was
can I
great
say?
revisiting them. It's been a minute, especially Roar. I haven't spun that in a long time. I remember that album. Listening back to it, I'm very familiar with it. I listened to it a lot when I bought the tape back when it came out around that time, and it holds up a lot better than I remember it.
I would say that. I would also, and I think I mentioned this in the book in the appendix. There's a big nerdy appendix in the back.
I did not read the appendix. I stopped. Like I said, I only finished the book 2 hours ago. I'm going to save the appendix for when I have the actual book. I'm like, damn it! I bought the book. I want to read it.
I had fun with the whole book, but the appendices were incredible fun because I just got to kind of like not worry about being too professional and just kind of make some maybe some jackass kind of quips here and there. It was a lot of fun to just be more of a fan writing those appendices. They served a purpose for me, and I think hardcore fans will really like reading through those. But I was going to say that the Roar Rough Mix, they actually put out a tape back in the day through the Iron Gang. It was called Roar Rough Mix. That's still out there now. I think it's been on various reissues of Roar. I think the Rough Mix is way better. When I listen to Roar, I always now listen to the Rough Mix. It's the same album. It was mastered all weird. And that's a story that I don't even want to tell in interviews. I want people to read about that.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, you may remember, but it's there's a distinctive reason why Roar sounds kind of off.
It is kind of ridiculous. It's
kind
of like a facepalm moment,
Yeah, like oops, that happened. But yeah, I just man, that I've said this too much about Roar, but it is like buildings collapsing. It's like,
yeah,
just what the fuck is even happening here?
It's I always take it as very alienating. And I wanted that aggression, that driving thrash, but it was like, wow, it was like it didn't welcome you in. It's just like destroyed everything around you and then flipped you off at the end. It's just like, ooh, crazy.
We're getting a lot of comments I noticed down here, and I want to mention this James G. Philosopher 81 says, got to mention Plasmatics and PIL if we're talking about Voivod, punk, rock, hardcore influence. Definitely, both those bands absolutely figure into Voivod's early inspiration as much as Venom or any of this, Raven or Judas Priest or any of the other bands they loved that were metal. Good call on the Plasmatics and the PIL for sure.
And it's funny too. You hear that cover they did of Home by Pill. It just how closely Snake's voice fit the Leiden. You could tell how much of a influence Leiden was on Snake's performances.
I think you can start hearing it in his voice as early as Killing Technology. Even
I
really do.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, it's more the PIL Johnny than it is the Sex Pistols. He was never that snotty, bratty thing. It was more this intellectualized, sophisticated version of Johnny Rotten,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that about them. And I'm getting the sense that Snake's one of the reasons people often will say I don't quite get Voivod, because I think they can listen to that music and get it. And then there's this weird voice that doesn't really conform to any metal standard, any metal expectation. Snake is simply Snake. Snake is a character. Snake is something just so individualistic that it's gonna turn some people off, right? It's not for everybody either. So just as their music may not be. So yeah, more power to him.
Definitely more power. And having the luxury of listening to the entire catalog in the last 3 days, the times have changed. I mean, even Voivod between albums, they maintain their core sound, but they change a bit. I mean, what I thought about it a bit, but what do you think the main characteristic is that continues to make their music sound so fresh in every era of their career?
Well, I think it's a standard that Piggy set with his writing, and let's talk about Blackie too, if we're talking about the music writing, not the lyrics, not the imagery, not the concepts, but just the music itself. I think Piggy and Blackie were so emboldened by some of their heroes, especially the post-punk heroes and the progressive rock heroes, to constantly change, to expect that the only thing we're going to do is try to enter a new door into a new room on this next album. And then after they leave that, they do the same thing. It just, I feel like there was a, not a grossly, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm dead air right now. There wasn't a gross sort of like, oh, we're going to like, be this. It wasn't a conscious thing. I think it was just in their DNA to replicate their heroes. Like in Rush, Rush was a band that if you followed them, like, you got a new album, you knew when you put that thing on, this is going to be a new permutation of this band. Like, this is not going to be what we got last time. It's going to be a little bit like that, but it's going to be a couple of evolved steps. And every band evolves. I mean, you could even argue that AC/DC has evolved, right? Their new album probably doesn't sound like their first album, but the steps are like this short,
yeah,
versus Voivod's steps, which are like Rush steps. They're quite large leaps between each endeavor. So I think that's all it was the bravery that their heroes showed to just keep opening new doors into new rooms. I mean, that was, and I feel like musicians like them are just excited to see what they can do. I mean, in a way, Angel Rat and Outer Limits, and even if we get into Negatron or even the self-titled, they were simplified in some ways, but I think that was the challenge, right? It's like that was the progression, was how do we streamline, how do we make less parts sound as interesting as something like Dimension Hatros or Nothing Face,
Yeah.
Like, that was the challenge. It wasn't laziness. It wasn't trying to be mainstream or any of that crap. It was simply like, let's hone and see if we can make more impact with less, do more with less. And I certainly think they totally did it,
Well, you mentioned the Rush thing, and initially listening to Voivod, I never really thought of Rush. Obviously the prog elements, there is certainly a hint of it there. But as I read the book and see what the band meant to Voivod and listening to the albums, Angel Rat for me feels like their Power Windows. That's kind of it. They start off, their first albums are raw. Rush's first album is kind of a raw classic rock album. The first Voivod's raw, punky, visceral, punk thrash. And they got more sophisticated as they go. And then they hit that one point where they go wackadoodle. And to me, Power Windows was a slip for Rush. And initially, Angel Rat was a slip for Voivod as well, in my opinion. But
yeah. Now, and you're one of many, and this is also documented in the book, you're one of many who at the time of following them didn't get Angel Rat, but have since come around to it. It's just one of those albums.
It is.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was so enamored. I mean, to me, the cleanliness of Nothing, we'll get into this later too. The cleanliness of Nothing Face was an indicator that something was changing, but the opening riff on Angel Rat, I'm like, this is not, I felt like I was being punished. Like, I don't want rockin' it felt like such a departure. I felt betrayed in a way, you know. I was very disappointed, but you know, I'll get back to my my thought about the what keeps them relevant. I thinking about them, the catalog, it uh one thing that Voivod never sounds forced to me, even though they've changed here and there. They've always sounded distinctly like Voivod. They don't sound like they're putting on an act like, oh, we have to play this crazy sci-fi. It sounds like that's just what comes out, and it's very much it's very fresh, and I think that alone is enough to make them feel relevant in every era because they've always been so much themselves. But another thing that I think that they've benefited from over the years, let's look at Campbell Corpse. This may be a bad analogy, but Campbell Corpse does what Campbell Corpse does. They come out, they're big, they're popular. There are a million bands that end up copying Campbell Corpse, and ultimately diminishes what Campbell Corpse have done. You know, the same happens with At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul, rest in peace, Tompa, Slaughter of the Soul. A million bands blow up sounding like that. It diminishes overall. Voivod never had. They were always so left of center and so obtuse that there isn't a legion of bands ripping them off. They're just
you're right.
That singularity, you know.
Because if there is, what era are you choosing to rip off, right? I mean, like, there's not one sound. With Cannibal Corpse, there's one sound.
Yeah, or Dark Throne.
We could argue with At the Gates, there was generally one. Obviously, they streamlined a bit with Slaughter, but you know, and there's a million metal bands like that are copied, and I think it's just because it's easy to copy that style. Voivod, just not even talking about the album progression, but I think the reason they are so unique is because of the original four. That chemistry was so important. The way it is for Rush, the way it is for Kiss, the way it is for a band like Queen.
Yeah.
You have to have those personnel in there to make that what it is. And I just don't think any of those four would have been content to do it any other way than what they did it. And each of those guys brought such unique character to their instruments, and Snake to his vocal. And then you have the world building exercise of the Away's imagery, right? And the concepts. And it's just
huge part of it.
You're not going to be able to copy that because there's no way you're going to be able to step into those sorts of shoes. Those shoes are too unique. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And I think, you know, not to get ahead of ourselves, but why not? The new band, the new lineup, to me is the strongest lineup they've had since the original.
It's crazy.
And it's because they have guys in there that understand that thing and bring their character. Mongrain absolutely has his own character. And I don't think he'd want to be in the band if he couldn't bring himself into it and have that understanding of what makes Voivod.
Yeah.
So that said, I'm hoping they give us a bit of a left turn on the next album, because I feel like the Wake and Synchro Anarchy are both great, but Synchro Anarchy is a bit of a lateral step, right? It's not that forward leap. Maybe they can't go anywhere else. I don't know. If they give us another thing like Synchro Anarchy, I think I'd probably be happy. It's great.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, what's there to complain about, really? It's
nothing.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I mean, how advantageous would it be for them to drop Angel Rat Part 2? Because they've had so much positive reinforcement after the lean years where reviews were mixed, and all of a sudden you've got these two back-to-back albums and an EP that people are kind of united in saying this rules.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, okay, well, watch this. Dun, 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 you know, Angel Rat Part 2. I mean, at this point, I welcome it. Whatever happens. I don't think it's going to be bad. And as I'm listening to these albums, Chewy is such a perfect fit. He really gets the spirit of Piggy, but I think his style is a bit more clinical, a little bit more precise. I'm not saying that Piggy was sloppy by any means. He was an absolute beast, but there's a bit of I think Piggy's style comes more from the rock. There's a bit of you can feel the rock in some of those riffs, and especially those Fast Eddie Clark style solos he would rip out. There's so much.
I would call it wild. Like
zest,
he was like wild animal wild. You know what I mean? Like, and yet he had composure, he had vision, he had technique. I think Mongrain is way more educated in terms of theory, musical theory. I mean, that's documented. He's a music teacher. He's done all the books. He's done all the tab books. He's he's more of an educated theory guy. I think he's got his own feel. I think he comes more, especially solo wise, he comes from the Alan Holdorf school
Yeah.
versus Piggy, which again, yeah, you bring up Fast Eddie Clarke. Piggy is total Fast Eddie Clarke, at least in those early days. Yeah.
As being a fan, after they say don't take a hobby and make it your job because you end up hating your hobby. But you know, at the end of the day, I guess the same question should be asked for Face Warning. Do you look at the bands differently after being so immersed in their world at the end of these books?
Hmm.
Like you just want to wash it off and step away and not listen to them for a while? Or, I mean, what is I want to know what the end result is when you're done. Relief? What? I mean,
Well,
it's got to be a
definitely
lot in there.
the relief of the project of the book, because I do everything on my books. I decided to go self-publish with Soul on Fire. I did it all myself. I didn't even bother to shop it. I probably could have. I could probably shop all these, and I had a couple people interested in Voivod book as well. But I know what I want. I know, and I do that as a fan. Okay, so I'm a fan that wants this book on the shelf, and I'm going to write that book that I want to see the way I want to see it. And I say in the intro, I want other Voivod fans to write their book. I'll buy it. I'll be the first in line because I think every fan can tell the story a little bit of a different way. But when I'm done, no, not at all. I'm because I'm still a fan. Like I've never like it's never even the headaches and the hell I went through with the Soul on Fire book, which is been pretty fairly well documented. Um, that was hellish in a lot of ways, some of the people I had to deal with, and I still love Typo Negative and Carnivore. I'm a big fan. I think I'm too big of a fan to let any of that sort of stuff bother me or let overexposure bother me. I mean, I'm already overexposed. I don't know how many times I've listened to Angel Rat. I don't know how many times I've listened to Awaken the Guardian. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And like those still have a magic to me. And if those still have a magic to me and those discographies have a magic to me, and I'm the guy writing the book, I don't think that's going to wear off. I think it's just part of my DNA. This is just who I am. It's yeah. I mean, a lot of people ask me, well, what do you do? Like right now, I just kind of like, I do a little bit of other stuff on the side, but like I always tell them I write books about bands you've never heard of, and they're like, well, tell me who you're writing about. Fates Warning, no. Voivod, no. It's you don't do this for any kind of huge monetary reward. It's simply I'm a fan that wants to see this book. So no, I've never been burned out.
So
I've
print
been
media,
burned out by, like I said, I've been burned out by the process.
sure.
Like especially the long gestation period of this Voivod book. Like it just dragged for some reason and dragged and dragged. And then for a very good, well, not a good reason, a horrible reason, it was delayed for almost a year. And yeah, I'm glad all that's behind me. It's a tough road. I don't even know what my next book's going to be.
Take a
I'm
lap.
ghostwriting for
Take a lap
somebody.
and relax.
Yeah, I'm ghostwriting for somebody and maybe doing another ghostwriting project. So maybe that'll be my future because it's a little less pressure. Because with this one, like I'm the author, I'm the editor, uh I'm the publisher. I'm kind of overseeing the graphics and the layout. I'm doing so much of it that it can wear on me in that sense. Yeah.
Well, having said you're self-publishing, that opens up a whole nother realm for me, for the fact that, as technology has risen to power, obviously media, CDs, books, all that stuff is kind of taking a hit. It's taking a hit. Us old farts,
Sure.
we still want to hold our record. We still want to open up a book and read it. And obviously you're writing about bands that are not humongously popular. Probably Typo is the biggest band you've covered thus far.
Sure.
Self-publishing, how it's got to be interesting to see what you're kind of putting your finger on the pulse right now. What's going on? What kind of rewarding? Is it rewarding? Is it disappointing? Are you surprised? Or do you see a rise in it? Do you see a decline in it? I mean, you're right in the middle of it at this point.
Yeah, because I've done 3 now. Based on the pre-orders, it's a good thing because what I'm seeing is my reward. Um, if you self-publish, there are so many things that you got to tamp, get bolted down and get right because nobody else is going to do it for you. So that's good for me because I'm very controlling in terms of the stuff I put out. just because I think I've learned with experience through either Maniacs or record label jobs or whatever, whatever it is, what to do. And certainly mean deviation was a huge educational experience, but now I know what to do. So putting it all together is one thing. But the thing about I just burped, sorry.
I did too. Dude, that was like,
Did you burp?
I burped the same fucking time. It's crazy. Twinsies. Twinsy burp.
Yeah. But the thing about it is that if you're going to reap those rewards and not have to pay a publisher, it's not print on demand. No, I go. Somebody's asking that here in the comments. It's not print on demand. It's I publish it. I print it professionally. Professional printer, actually up near you in Michigan. But anyhow, you have to. There's more work involved, but there's more reward. But to get all that reward, yes, I'm talking money. You have to put down the money to make it, to get it printed, to buy. I have stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of envelopes, boxes and boxes ready to go to stuff these books. I'm stuffing the books. I'm sending them out. I'm doing everything. I will get the reward for that, but it's a lot of work. Okay. The one thing that I'm disillusioned by with this book that did not exist before this was shipping rates internationally are hell. They're awful. And I feel so bad because I didn't think about writing because this book is larger than my other ones physically. It's like it's almost 8 inches by 10. My other one's, a bit smaller, a bit more traditional size. It's thicker. It's 540 pages. It's a weighty motherfucker. It's like 3 pounds. The problem with that is I didn't think about international shipping rates when I was writing it, right? Oh, I should keep it at 300 pages and maybe I should shrink it down size-wise. I didn't think about any of that. I put out the book I wanted to put out, but now it's kind of biting me in the ass a little bit because there are people that really want it over there that just can't afford a $40 shipping.
I've had today
right?
people, fans of the show, contacting me through Facebook saying, ask Jeff if this is going to be published in Europe because I want the book, but I can't afford the book.
Well, look, I looked at printers in Europe, so then it would be easier for a distributor over there because there's plenty of distributors that want it. I've got a few that I'm talking to right now, but I couldn't find a printer that could do it the way I wanted it or for the price that I needed it. Okay.
Yeah.
So people have to understand that, and I know most people won't understand that. They don't. That's not their concern. But I did try. It just didn't work out. But I'm going to try to get a bulk of books to somebody who will agree to help me maybe with shipping. And so as long as people can get it for less than if they're ordering it direct through me, great. And I'm going to keep working on that. So that's been the one thing. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the one thing that I've been really kind of disillusioned by is like, oh shit, international rates have changed a lot since the Fates Warning book came out 3 years ago.
Oh yeah.
It used to be you could put in, Ian Christie knows about this, and I bitched with him about it, kind of crying on his shoulder. He's like, "Yeah, I remember putting Mean Deviation and Swedish death metal books in an envelope, sending it overseas for $15." Those two
that
books.
ship has sailed. Yeah,
those were the days, right?
Those were the days.
I mean, it's too bad. It's too bad, and I hope people understand. I'm not making any money off the shipping. I'm not the one that decides the rates, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been. I've actually had some literal sleepless nights over that when the book first went on pre-order, because I realized that people were pretty let down with the shipping cost. But look, there's people from Japan ordering this thing. There's people from Australia. There's people from all over Europe still ordering it. They still want it. Look, I've got to pay pretty high prices for import vinyls when I want something that's really like weighty and big. I've had to pay the price sometimes, and I just eat it, But I'm not saying that my Voivod book is worth your extra $40, but it is what it is, So I'm trying.
It's crazy that's come to that. The internet makes the world smaller, and encouraging worldwide commerce, but the powers that be are like, nope. You don't. Do that.
I'm going to probably make an ebook out of this. I didn't with Fates. I did with Soul on Fire for Kindle readers and all that. I will eventually do it if that's going to satisfy certain people, and I think it will because some people like that. That's to me just not about this is fan art. That's the first sentence in my book, in my introduction. This is fan art, no more, no less. And so this is what I want out there. I don't want an ebook out there, right? I want this thing out there. I don't want this tiny little, plus don't we all look at screens enough,
Yeah.
So don't get me started, Marty. Sorry, Marty.
Yep. Just the hearing about, I think it's more rewarding too if you're publishing this yourself. It's a lot of work stuff in those envelopes and dealing with all that stuff. But when you start dealing with a publisher, I guess you have to deal with expectations. They might be disappointed that it didn't sell a certain amount, where if you sold that yourself, you'd be like stoked. You know what I mean? So
hey, I want to mention, keep that thought. This guy, Wilson, Tam 5673, that is happening, dude. Whoever you are, Wilson. Voivod are getting copies from me, and they will be carrying it in their Canadian stores. So that's going to help Canadians.
And so Wilson is from Canada too. Cheers.
I just want to get that out.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead, Marty. Sorry.
No, just your expectation. You get to actually touch each piece that goes out, your work. Whereas a publisher, like, oh, it didn't sell like we hoped it would. So I mean, I think if you keep it close to home like that, I think it's more rewarding. More work for sure, but rewarding.
I love it. I actually I love seeing where it's going. Oh, cool. Like I actually made a pretty good friend here in Greensboro who ordered the Fates Warning book a couple years ago, and I saw he was near me. I was like, this guy lives right by me. Like, how do I not know this guy? And we've become friends,
That's awesome.
And I just like seeing where it's going. It's cool, man. And all these people to me are brothers and sisters. Like anybody into Voivod's a friend of mine. I mean, that's a fact,
Yeah.
I've
sorry, Alan.
I've ever met
So
Alan's a friend
Alan.
of mine, despite the fact that he doesn't love Voivod.
Yeah, he's smiling. He's down there smiling. All right.
We love Alan.
We love Alan. Well, I got to say, I've always loved your writing. And I knew it was special when I got your book, Souls on Fire, and I'm not a typo fan. I read that book. By the end of the book, I was a typo fan. I ended up getting I went from one CD, October Rust, every Metalhead's Barry White album. I had that album and then ended up with all of them. And the book allowed me to see the band in a different light. And
Good.
Even Fates Warning. I'm a John Arch fan. Always have been, always will be. As I've gotten older, I appreciate the proggy side of them, the Alder side, but it made me every word. And this book too, folks, seriously, the Voivod book it's fantastic, well written, and you could tell it's coming from a place of love. Just not a guy, well, I'm going to cover this band now. No, there's love in every word. So cheers to you, my friend. It was great. We're obviously going to talk about the book here some more, but we've almost an hour in, and I do want to talk about some Voivod records. Are you with me here?
Let's talk about Voivod records. Fuck this book.
This book, yeah. Whatever. This is just an excuse for us to talk about Voivod.
Yeah. It only took 6 years. Who gives a shit?
But 1984, here it is.
I'll tell you what. I don't know. I want to ask you, Marty, when you discovered him. I discovered him with that album. And I'm telling you, just the imagery, before I even heard a note, I was like so intrigued. So intrigued. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at the back cover. Show the back cover. Even that had appeal to me. It looked dank. It looked sick. It looked darker than anything I'd ever known. And yeah, it's beautiful. So
I can't, it's all very fuzzy to me at this point. I think the first I heard this band was on the Best of Metal Blade comps.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Was pretty intrigued.
Was on it. Yeah.
And I know I got this early on cassette. I remember getting Roar down in Grand Rapids at Vinyl Solution. But I also remember walking into Camelot Music, and they were the guy there. I was in there every week buying, and he's like, "Oh, there's a metal guy." They had a combat sampler that they were giving out to metal people that come in. He's like, "Oh, hey, we just got these comps I have to give away." It was a combat sampler, and Forgotten in Space was on there. And I remember that album, that song really kind of cemented. It was so much more special. There's just something about that. There's a herky jerky. It's like this faulty machine, like firing on and off. It is just so interesting. And I think, I think I had War and Pain on tape at that point, but from there I just had to have it, you know. So I think War and Pain was early, but it never fully clicked. But I think it was that one song, and then finally getting Killing Technology, and then getting Roar. Roar was kind of like what is happening to me right now?
I mean, when Roar came out, I was already a fan. Obviously, young fan. They only had one album. I knew "Condemned to the Gallows" from Metal Massacre 5 as well. Love that. That was another song I learned to play bass from. And when Roar came out, I was a little alienated by it too. I think it was almost a purposeful like wall like that they put up. Like, this is not supposed to be accessible. This is not supposed to be enjoyable. This is us trying to play faster and heavier beyond our abilities. And they admit that now, and you could hear it. And then that weird messed up mix that we talked about. It's a forbidding album, but that's part of the charm. But I had to learn to love that album more than any of the other Voivods. All the other Voivods have been instant for me, up until Outer Limits and including Outer Limits.
Yeah.
All those are instant love. Roar was this weird little fucked up cousin that I was just like, okay, I'll put it on. And man, I adored it from afar. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to feel really close to that album. Now I do. But man, at the time, but I'll tell you what, it sounds like it looks, and it looks like it sounds. You know,
100%.
that cover, man.
And I will say, before we get to Roar, but this thing here, putting it on, I haven't spun this in a hot minute. I mean, we'll get to my era of Voivod, but this thing, it holds up remarkably well. It really does. The sound of it, it's so interesting. It's so good that they're, you know, Snake's English is hurting, but man, it adds to that. Hey, Mike, thanks a bunch, man. Appreciate you, Mike. Oops, get him up here. There we go. Sorry, Alan. I interfered with your moderating. Sorry. Cheers,
Mike
brother.
666 checking in. Nice.
Appreciate you. Yeah, this thing makes me want to listen to it again. I'm so in the Voivod zone. This isn't like we just did an album club on Danzig 4, and I don't care if I ever hear Glenn Danzig again, to be honest with you. So, but I put on Voivod this week. It's like, oh, I just want more Voivod. I just want to dig in and keep going. So
that's a great album. There's something really attractive about that album. As ugly as it is, it's awesome. It's just a lot of fun. I think it's more rock than Roar too, right? It's got more of that rock looseness. Roar has none of that. Roar shaved all of that off.
Oh yeah.
And there it is.
1996. And I think
96.
90, hold on.
86.
That's what I meant. 86.
Sorry, man.
Duh. I wish I could say I blame it on drinking. I don't do that anymore. So, yeah, it's just my stupidity. Anyway, this album, we're talking about alienating the thing. Their adaptation, their interpretation of thrash at this point in their career is very violent. It's just so obtuse and it's just so driving, you know, hell driving, I guess you could say. But these stage photos on the back are just, again, size.
Oh God, I love that album cover. Yeah, I remember there was no question that was coming home with me in the record store, but I remember looking at it on the wall and going, "Yep, okay." But then I looked at the back. I'm like, "Oh, these are my new heroes. This is
old.
It.
Yeah,
this is it. Yeah, this is it, man."
This was our internet, people. This was our internet. What record label is it on? Oh, Noise is on there. I'm buying it.
Noise.
Yep, that was
Noise
another
Combat in the U.S. Noise Combat. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I pulled this out too, just because.
Oh yeah, gotta have that.
Back when I bought it for $9.99, brand new, when it came out, around that time. Nowadays, it's probably
4 songs from Roar. It's good.
Here we'll probably get a little more involved in the conversation, I think. But 1987, this is the start for me of the holy trinity of Voivod. But Killing Technology.
What do you say? I when I first heard that, as a fan of the first two, I was flabbergasted. I just thought, oh my Lord, they have matured 10 years in 1 year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was way more sophisticated. Yes, it has a link to Roar, but it's just a little bit of a link. I mean, it's there, but I feel like they're blasting off at this point. They truly are. Not to use a space analogy because it's cheap and that's what the album's about, but like, Yeah, they really blasted off into something so brand new with that. And that's the crystallization of the legendary Voivod sound right there.
It
So
really
yeah,
is. They really got a hand.
100%er.
Yep.
Perfect album.
They really got a handle on Blackie's tone. They really refined it, and there's a sharpness to it, and there's an attack to it. It's got a bite, and it just they really make up for the fact that there isn't a second guitar part by having the bass that snarled and but yet distinct. It's still, it cuts. Those riffs he's playing are very, very coherent. And yeah, I mean, how do you get here, man? How do you
There's, I mean, I,
I-
one thing that's revealed in the book, and they've talked about this in interviews in the past, but there is influence from modern classical music, which means there's a lot of counterpointing that may be a little bit dissonant compared to like earlier classical. You know, Shostakovich was one of them. These guys, Blackie and Piggy, were listening to a lot of this stuff, and then you funnel that through the punk thing, the metal thing, everything else they were into, the prog thing, post-punk thing. Like then you bring in this like counterpoint. There's so much counterpoint between the bass and the guitar on that album that is so brand new. It really wasn't going on yet on Roar, not quite.
no.
And I think that's part of that musical structure that makes this album sound like architecture. It sounds like, yeah, it sounds like surrealistic architecture rather than like just a metal band. You know, as much as I love, say, Darkness Descends by Dark Angel, they were taking thrash in this entirely new area. And man, I just can't. Now, here's the thing, Marty. Do you consider the 7-song version the version or the 9-song? Because there's that 9-song version with Cockroaches and Too Scared to Scream.
Well, I had it on cassette first, which had those on it.
Add those on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when I ended up getting this for $2.99 back when people hated vinyl. Remember those days? But yeah, I had the cassette
Yeah, like
first.
15
So
years ago. Yeah.
yeah. And I always wanted that Cockroaches EP, but then when I finally saw one in a store, I looked at it and I'm like, well, I've already got both of these songs on my tape. It looks cool, but do I need to spend the money on this? Then I end up getting this and realize they weren't on there. So for me, the album was with Cockroaches and Too Scared to Scream. So those two were part of the album. And I prefer that, I think. I feel like this is missing something. And then I ended up getting the CD, which has those as well. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. What
I'm
do
more
you
used
think?
to the 7-song version because I was an album guy, and
Yep.
I have no problem with Cockroaches or Too Scared, but I just like the compactness of that 7. Somebody here said, oh wait, it just left. There was a comment there about somebody drew the line between Roar and Killing Technology as being a little bit closer cousins than I did, and I thought that was a good comment. So anyway,
Do you see
moving
it,
on.
Alan? We'll pull it up here. There it is.
Right there. Part of what this is, Ilkus Joran. I'm
Yep.
probably butchering that name. Part of what blew me away is how much clarity and vision and production there was for being arguably still being as corrosive sounding as Roar. It is corrosive sounding still.
Yeah.
They did retain that element. Yeah, so good call for sure, for sure. Just sophisticated it. That's all.
Favorite songs on here?
Ravenous. Oh. I think in writing the book and listening, because I listen to a lot of Voivod while writing the book. I listen to a lot of Voivod while not writing the book. But the song that man, I can't do that at every song. But I want to point out, This Is Not an Exercise.
Mm.
I think that's an unbelievable song. I mean, that part where Snake's yelling like, smashed up cars, fucked up traffic, people plunging into their TV sets. Like, what a visual. While all this fucking chaos is brewing around you, like, it's just like, this is the end of the world. The bombs are dropping, and like people are like plunged into their TV sets. Like, like,
Yeah.
I mean, what a song. Visually, that song brings a lot. But I mean, Tornado, Ravenous Medicine, Forgotten in Space is my single most favorite Voivod song. So there you
Dude,
go.
that song is something really special. It's so
Yeah.
herky jerky and such an interesting structure, and
Yeah.
how they bring it around. It's just it's incredible. And in your synopsis of the album, when you're in the writing in the book, you nailed what I was feeling about Tornado, how you feel like you're sucked up and you're flying above, just kind of, there's like this elevating feeling to the riff work and the way the song feels a little bit more spacious. It doesn't feel as suffocating as the rest of the album does. It's just, and at that point, at the end of side one, you kind of want that. You want that feeling of it's a good breather before getting into the just completely angular Forgotten in Space, man. What
the maze of Forgotten in Space.
Oh my God. It's just so inventive. And it just feels like they took the rule book and just threw it in the trash with, with peas. You throw peas in the trash and you throw, conventional structuring in the trash when it comes to Voivod. It seems like sometimes.
Did you say peas?
Peas, yes. I'm not a peas fan.
So random, man.
That was just, it came to my brain for some.
I threw the butternut squash in, and then I threw in. It's awesome.
Order of the Black Guards for me is another favorite. Yeah, this is right up there, man. This is the start of a very. You can't besmirch the first two records. They're on their own. They really do stand and they hold up really, really well. Even though Roar suffers from a bit of a interesting production, this is where things really start to the aha moment,
Absolutely. I mean, because I'm a kind of a known Voivod fan. People have asked me what your favorite Voivod album is. I don't have one. I have four, and it's albums number 3. It's album number 4, album number 5, and album number 6. Those are the 4. Yep. Those are 4 perfect albums. Those are the 4 best Voivods. I cannot pick amongst those. Yep. So let's keep moving because those are the 4.
For me, this is my favorite Voivod record. This record here is absolute perfection. There's something so in this case, I prefer the cassette and the vinyl because I'm not a big fan of the Batman. The Batman cover on the CD, that completely demystifies the weight and awesomeness of this record. It cheapens it.
I don't consider that part of Dimension at all. I can't.
Yeah.
Maybe because I don't want to, but I can't.
But man, there's something about this record. I've listened to it a million times and I'll hopefully listen to it a million more before I croak. Your thoughts on Dimension Hatros?
Well, again, I have to go back to when I first heard it, and as floored as I was with Killing the first time I heard it, I think that even doubled when I heard Dimension. Like, holy what? What is this? What even is this now? And I knew I loved it, and I really liked. I think two things stood out to me. One, I love how it's recorded. I love the texture of this of the sound.
So
Harris
warm.
Johns did an unbelievable job. I think he understood where they were at musically so well.
Harris Johns should be celebrated in metal circles. He really, in an age where thrash metal wasn't understood by many engineers, he got it, and he really made it a cohesive, excellent sound. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And I talked to him for the book. I want people to know that he's a big part of this, and he gives good insight to both these albums. And so, yeah, I was struck by the sound of it, and just sort of like the just overall weirdness of their approach to riffs and rhythms. But the other thing that struck me was the change in Snake's voice. That was pretty significant. He wasn't yelling anymore. He was
very melodious.
Yeah, but robotic too. I love the robotic because I was like, I'd never heard, again, like a lot of what they did in the 80s, I'd never heard it in metal before. And Dimension was just a whole new level. So I have a great fondness for that record. I think it's perfect. Yeah, man, what can I say? I do think of it more as an album than I do as songs. Of course, I could pick out individual songs, but it must be listened to all the way through.
Fully agree.
It must. Yeah.
But I got to say, when Brain Scan hits, I get the chills, maybe a little tear every time. Yep. Oh God. Yep. Yeah. For me, you nailed it. And this is where I'm not, as you know, I'm not a huge prog fan. It isn't because I don't like the style. I just don't know much about it. And if it's on, I can appreciate it, but I just never really connected with it. And if Voivod is prog on this record, which they certainly are, then I guess I like prog to a certain extent, but there is just a warmness and such an organic otherworldliness of this record. I don't know what it is, but it feels like you're in the world. And
yeah, Talk about world building, man.
It's
right there.
totally world building, and you're right. Snake modifies his voice to be a little bit more melodious at times, a little bit more robotic. He's into the character. He's into character building here too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which actually really moving forward, that becomes a part of Voivod, even with Eric Forrest in the band, especially on Phobos. We'll get there, but he
We'll
does a
get
bit
there.
of that too.
Yep.
Definitely a staple.
Something you told me once about Prague when, I think it was when Craig and I came up to see you, Zoller and I. We were in Traverse City, we were hanging out, and I think we were at that record store and there was some Prague stuff that we were trying to, Marty, this is awesome. And you were like, I think I'd love Prague, but I just don't want to go down another rabbit hole at this point in my life. Because you knew what that might mean. I love that. I love that comment because you were like, yeah, no.
No, I see what you're trying to do here, but I think Craig bought me a Utopia record,
which
actually kind of rips. I listened to it a couple times. I'm like,
is that the first one with the eyeballs?
Yeah, the eyeballs. It's blue cover.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's like
that's unbelievable.
They played it live. I think it's like, holy fuck, this thing is
the first Utopia is unreal. Yeah.
Very. It just musicianship is off the charts. But yeah, I don't want to go down another rabbit hole. And honestly, I sometimes don't think I'm smart enough to fully get prog, which it takes a brave man to admit that.
I guess.
Here we go. I'll blow this up here, of course.
Ooh, boy. It's getting hot in here tonight.
This is 89, isn't it? 88.
Yep.
88. Yep. Nope, 89.
89. Fall, I believe. Yeah, man. Fuck. I two things here I'll say before I love hearing you talk about these actually. This one was so clinical. It in laboratory, like it was made in a laboratory. It absolutely took the right leap from Dimension. It just did exactly what it should have. It was surprising. It was a bit of a streamlining in some way, but it was also in some way a little more complex. They really toe the line between cleanliness and streamlining over here and mathematical conundrum over here. Like I just love Glenn Robinson's production. It's airy. It's again, it sounds like it looks. That's a we talk about roar a lot with Voivod albums sounding like they look, but that one certainly sounds exactly like that.
Yep.
And I also love how they did a cover song and they made it their own. I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan, and I think their version is better than Floyd's. Any version of Floyd's, put it up against Voivod's is better. And I think that Voivod made this song, Astronomy Domine or Domine. I've never been quite sure how to say it.
I always thought it was Domine, but Domine, I don't know.
It slotted in as if it was their own song.
Yeah, it sounds like a Voivod song.
It totally does.
Yeah.
So yeah, wonderful album. I guess if I had a favorite, Unknown Nose or Into My Hypercube, I guess. Missing Sequences is incredible.
Dude, Missing Sequence is the song on this album for me. For sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. This is the year I graduated high school. It's nebulous. I think this was my first concert. I went down with my buddy Scott. We went to Detroit, Harpo's. Nope, St. Andrews Hall, and saw Faith No More, Soundgarden, and Voivod. Obviously, we were there for
Chicago. We probably saw that within days of each other.
Probably the next day you saw it.
Yeah, I saw it at Vic Theater. Yeah.
And it was just I had heard Faith No More at that point. I'm just not. I don't mind Faith No More. I don't. I own a couple things, but
yeah,
I was there for Voivod. Soundgarden I'd never heard.
Yeah,
and honestly, Soundgarden, they blew the roof off the place. Not going to lie.
Yep.
They were absolutely devastating. And after they were done, the place cleared out and Voivod played to probably about 30 people.
Really?
So, yeah.
See, my memory was same lineup. Faith No More first, Soundgarden second. Soundgarden blew everybody away.
Crazy.
Faith No More had a very strong set. Voivod, the place was still pretty full. But I think Chicago was a big city for them. I don't know why, but I think they had a pretty strong following. So there was a lot of people, thankfully. At least that's my memory, but I was way up front, just zoning in,
Yep.
First time I saw him was on Dimension Hatros in Milwaukee
Oh,
with Violence opening up and Numbskull, Ritually Abused Era. It's
nice.
fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Somebody said in these comments that Nothing Face sounds so modern and not really like it's from '89. He's absolutely right. He or she. Uh,
Hey,
and
no.
it never sounded of its time. It never sounded out of date. It never sounded dated. You can put it on now and go, holy crap, that beats most productions now, and it certainly doesn't have that loudness wars problem that we're all veterans of.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Um, the it's a little bit kind of time sensitive in a way now because Ace Frehley just died. I know you're a fan. I listened to that 1978 album by Frehley.
I did too the day he died.
And that's an album. That's another one like Nothing Face where it doesn't sound 1978. It doesn't sound like an 80s record. It doesn't sound modern. It sounds just like no other record, but it holds up so well.
It's a
And I
loud and
think
proud
Nothing
rock
Face,
record, you know?
it just sounds amazing now. I mean, it holds up, and Nothing Face is the same way. That production will live forever.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So good point, whoever said that. Yeah.
And I gotta say, this took me a minute to wrap my head around because in my mind, Dimension Hatros was a massive album to follow up. How do you do that? I mean, that album to me is as close to perfect as you can get with an album. This thing, artwork, I was a little taken aback by. I'm not gonna lie. It's fine. I ended up enjoying it. It really matches the album perfectly. But
Love
the
the back.
sound, the cleanliness of this album is it was a little off-putting at first, but it really and once again, Snake's voice is very forward in the mix. But I noticed it then, but it isn't until probably the last 5 years listening to it with maybe a bit more of a mature musical appreciator ear. You talk about in the book the point counterpoint thing that Piggy and Blackie had. It is for me the most evident on this record. The way that those two feed off of each other and interact with each other within
beautiful
a measure or a bar.
Yep.
It's like
right.
It's like getting to knit a bit more about music as I play it and fart around with it. Hearing that again, it really made me appreciate this album even more. I mean, I listened to the shit out of this thing when I was a kid. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. But I have way more appreciation for it now. I really love how they really captured that bass, that blower bass. They streamlined it and made it more modern, but it's still got a snarl to it. And just the way he twists and turns with Piggy's riffs. Oh my God. It just makes these songs. You could turn off the vocals and just listen to this music and I would be completely entertained. And I typically could care less about instrumental music, but there's enough going on. There's like two people yelling at each other in this thing, but somehow there's like a dance going on. It's really
great
mind blowing,
description, man. Yeah, you great description. Love it.
But yeah, missing sequences. Wow, what a awesome fucking song. The whole thing.
There's some beautiful Blackie bass in that one.
Yeah,
just incredible tone.
When they get manic, it feels like it wants to fall apart, but they don't. They're just so completely enmeshed in each other's tone, and I don't know. It's just very strange. And you're completely right. Astronomy Domine. It just sounds like a Voivod song. I remember finally hearing the Pink Floyd song and going, "Wow, this is kind of chaotic." It's kind of they really made sense of an interesting song, but a chaotic kind of a mess song. They made sense of it. They made it their own. And isn't that the best way to do a cover? Isn't that the way
it's the only way to do a cover? And I think it's so hard to do. I think most bands never achieve that, but there it is. Yeah.
And, this is a very polarizing album for me. And yep, Angel Rat, this is 19. I don't know the dates off the top of my head because 1991, Angel Rat. You over the years, you have told me many times, one of my favorite Voivod records, you got to give it another chance. And I just wasn't hearing it. I'm like, that guy, I love him, but sometimes he don't know. Sometimes he just doesn't know stuff. But
I'll take it.
Here we go. Angel Rat, your thoughts.
Again, I keep going back to the first time I heard it, and it's what I guess it's what I expected and wanted. I'm one of the few. I realized pretty quickly that I was in the minority, because I was hanging out with a bunch of people in Iowa City who were pretty well into Voivod, different eras, different whatever, but everybody was all into Nothing Face. And most of the people that I was hanging out with that were music freaks did not like Angel Rat, did not appreciate what they were doing. But before I knew that, I brought it home one morning. I think it must have been release morning. I remember I had the day off work, drove to the record store that I would always get stuff at, brought home the long box. It was intriguing looking. I mean, obviously they changed the logo again. The artwork's a little bit different for them. It just had this intrigue to it that I thought, well, here we go again. Here we go again into another new portal. Because I had been expecting and experiencing that every album, right? So here we go. I put it on. Obviously, very different tone. It had a gothic tone, not goth rock so much, but just a gothic tone. It had kind of post-punk tone. It had an isolating tone, a really lonely sort of sound to it. It had a very sleepy, maritime, seaside sort of thing going on. Like, it just had such an atmosphere and it was magical to me. And I thought, oh my God, I love this, and I've always argued that, like, why were you not expecting Voivod to take you yet another new place, right? That's what I was wanting from them at this point. So to me, it just worked. And I loved, something like The Prow hit so deeply emotionally. And I think the way they simplified or streamlined, they were able to get to the raw emotion a little bit quicker than they were on the previous albums. And man, I just instantly connected with Angel Rat. And I sang its praises alone, because I was kind of like, I felt like I was the only one. I remember talking the next couple of days to people like, hey, have you heard it yet? The people that had were like, nah, like, really? Okay. I mean, I was sort of on my own little island, and then I've just been kind of trumpeting its virtues ever since. And I will never stop. In fact, in the book, I sent that chapter to Hunter again, my buddy that does radical research with me.
Shout out to Hunter.
Love him. And I said, dude, is there too much hyperbole with me and Angel Rat here? Like, do I need to dial it back? He said, you're very enthusiastic about it after he read it. He's like, but you're communicating to the reader what it's all about. Like, you're not being too sweet about it. Like, you're not being too candy ass. Just tell it how it is. And you are doing that. So I just kept it. Best Regards is so sick. That guy's right. Especially the ending of Best Regards, man. That's some of Piggy's best work creatively. Blackie doesn't like the album, but he's wrong. I think the bass work is incredible. I think everything on that album is incredible. I'm huge fan. Stop me now. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts.
Well, like I was saying, I felt betrayed with the opening moments of Panorama. It's just, I guess in my head, you've got this amazingly perfect from start to finish Dimension Hatros. You've got Nothing Face, which is a little more clinical sounding, but musically so adventurous and exciting. And then you get this record. I guess in my head, what I was hoping from them was, like, they still didn't hit that crescendo. They were hinting at something explosive next. They completely went off the rails into a different feel. And coming back to this record so many years later, and finally coming to the reality that this is a good record. It's just because ultimately it is hard. It's still 100% a Voivod record. It sounds like no other band. This isn't a band that's trying to sound like Voivod. This is completely Voivod. Yeah. And as I was going on a walk a couple days ago, I had it in the headphones. I'm like, okay, why didn't I like this record? What are some other reasons other than feeling like it wasn't the album that I expected them to make? Which, you know what? That's not fair to anybody. It's stupid. It's a stupid mentality. But the sound changed quite a bit. Terry Brown, he cleaned things up a lot. That he really tamed Blackie's bass a bit too much for me. It's still there. That tone, but it's very subdued. It's cleaned up a lot. He really It's like he took all the sharp edges with the scissors and made it rounded instead of sharp. And that's a bummer. And, there's still moments on this album that go into Voivod. They might live in this rock realm for a while, but eventually you're going to get a song where it goes into like this moment where you're thinking, oh, I feel a little forgotten in space in here. It's getting a little more, they took the blinders off, or they took the governor off, and they're just letting the song go in these weird places. That to me is exciting. That's when, but they make you wait for it a bit more on this record. I think
I think Nuage Fractal is the one that points to Nothing Face.
Yep.
Later in the album. I also think like things like Free Doom and the title track are just these just expansive, glorious bits of atmosphere that they hadn't quite explored in that way yet, in a patient way, and let things kind of breathe a little more. Somebody had just written in the comments that did Blackie not like the songs at all? No, I think Blackie liked the songs. He had a problem with the mix, as you were saying. I have no problem with the mix. I think Terry Brown did a great job, but I know it's divisive. But there it is. I thought Blackie just didn't like the mixing job. This is from Andy Man 73. He didn't like the actual music either. No, I think he liked the music. But he's often claimed and infamously put out the demos for you to buy if you want to support that. He doesn't like the mix job. He thought the demos were better. I totally disagree. The only demos that are better than the album in Voivod history is the Roar stuff,
which I've never heard. I just realized I've never heard it.
Well, I guess I should call it the Roar rough mix. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's better than the album version. But no, Blackie liked the songs just fine, as far as I've come to understand. He just didn't. He did not like the mix. He butted heads with Terry Brown. So
because it was tinkering with his sound. I can understand that, instead of realizing it was probably for the good of the album. I mean, you hear how clean this album sounds. You put a ferocious, nasty, snarled bass tone on it. It would have been too much. It would have been the elephant in the room.
Yeah, I think Terry Brown, like Glenn Robinson on Nothing Face, I think Terry Brown was the essential fifth member. Again, like Harris Johns on the other two, he did. Like, I think they picked great producers for what they were doing at that time. And there's a quote by somebody in the book saying, I think like an ex-manager who was saying like, Blackie was trying to produce too much in the Angel Rat era. It's like, well, you're not Terry Brown, right? Yeah. You don't have the track record that Terry Brown has. He produced fucking moving pictures. Get out of the way, let him do his thing. You know, like, I mean, come on.
Yeah. So, and another thing, you get more rock, which is something kind of new, they really ran with it, and you get parts in Clouds in My House, which I love. It's actually pretty. In that the idiot walks along the canvas part, there's a lot of pretty moments on this record where Snake is singing. And the music follows suit. It gets really quiet and ornate sounding, and it just it's a realm that at that point I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm just like, oh, I'm still young and I want that aggression which Voivod really brings to the table in a very exciting, unique way. And I felt like I was being denied, but now, like I said, with a bit more musical maturity, I can put this record on and fully enjoy it. I mean, I listened to it twice. I went around the Civic Center a few times, listened to this record, and it's great. It's great. It's just, it takes time. It takes time.
True Voivod. Yep.
All right. Well, to me, this next one, this here righted the ship in a lot of ways for me. And I'm talking about The Outer Limits. This was 1993. 93.
Yep.
Your thoughts?
Absolutely love it. I was, of course, I think like every Voivod fan, I don't think there's a Voivod fan out there that wanted Blackie to leave. But that was a fact. And they got Pierre St. Jean in to do bass. I think his work and his playing is excellent on it. I wish they would have produced the bass differently. Not exactly trying to get to the blower bass sound. I think the bass sound is a little too clean, though. It fits the record. So maybe that's just me. Is that a perfect record? It's a 99% record for me because of that reason. I think it's an incredible album.
The bass is very clean, but it does poke out. I mean, you can hear the bass lines, and it's just a little atypical.
Yeah. But, look, I love Outer Limits. I thought it was a great. I thought they did really well in I don't think they really consciously tried too hard to try to get people back, but I think they also understood that, okay, now we've learned how to streamline and play these simpler songs. Because Away's argument was like, we were playing live on the Nothing Face tour, and like we were always like looking down at our instruments or our drums and like trying to we couldn't really connect with the audience because there was so much technicality going on, and they wanted to write that with Angel Rat. Well, obviously they took a pretty far swing this way. And I think Angel Rat kind of like takes Angel Rat the best of, sorry, I think Outer Limits takes the best of Angel Rat and Nothing Face and kind of blends it a little bit
Yep.
more.
Yep.
You get Lost Machine and Time Warp, which
And
that
Fix
was
My Heart
probably
is
the
a very rockin' song. It does feel like it could have been on Angel Rat,
yes. But then Time Warp and Lost Machine sound like they could have been the follow up to Nothing Face, perhaps.
Yeah.
I think La Pont Noir, The Black Bridge, is one of their very best songs. Love Jack Luminous, the 17-minute track.
Lost Machine, that feels like Killing Technology era a little bit for me at times.
Yeah. It's man, if you love Voivod, you should love Outer Limits. I think it's a phenomenal album. Yeah.
And I really don't have much more to add to that other than I pretty much instantly like this album a lot more. And it still holds up really well. Like you said, Jack, in fact, they put out, well, this is a promo, I guess, Lost Machine and Jack Luminous on this sampler thing. And those to me are two of the better songs on the album for sure. But still, Fix My Heart. And like, once again, they cover another Pink Floyd song, the Nile song, which they made it sound like Voivod. They picked an odd Pink Floyd song again and made it their own. And wow, this sounds to me exactly like Angel Rat with a little heavier handed dose of Nothing Face. And
like, the cover art's great. I love how they did that like 50 or even 40s, 30s, 40s pulp magazine type scheme.
Even the tape, I had the tape initially, that even the tape come with the 3D glasses. So pretty cool. Yeah, can't believe MCA just seemed like it stayed in the book as they were just throwing money at Voivod. It's awesome.
The manager at the time told me, and this is in the book, he said after all was said and done, like he would work with MCA in a second. He thought they were a great major label to work with. He said you hear a lot of horror stories about major labels, and of course you do. Yeah. But he said MCA were actually really good to Voivod. The curious thing about Outer Limits, though, is there was no video budget.
Yeah.
There's not a video for that album.
The writing was on the wall with videos,
They were talking about doing one for Jack Luminous, like this long form thing. Too ambitious, probably too much budget. It just never happened. But in '93, they really probably could have used the video. It's too bad because video was still a thing back then.
And even with the budgets they had some pretty cool videos. Tribal Convictions and
Tribal Convictions was great.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of music video in general. I'll tend to just put it down completely. But the ones they did for Dimension were great. The one they did for Astronomy was great.
Yeah.
So
the
too bad.
thing.
Too bad.
Yep. Well, there's a massive turnover here, or the change. Snake leaves the band, and we get, what year is this? I suck at years. I try to
96.
not pay attention.
96, 95.
95. Negatron.
95.
Eric Forrest from Thunder Circus.
It doesn't matter.
An unlikely character from Thunder Circus joins Voivod, and you know what? The thing I like the least about this album is the cover, but still.
Really?
Yeah. I want to hear your thoughts on this. You said a lot of things about this record, and this and the one after it. Listening back to them this week, man, they rule. I think they're both really good records. I like Phobos sizably better, but you're throwing out things like mentioning Machine Head and Fear Factory. I listened to this record with that in mind. I'm like, am I hearing this wrong? Because I don't hear that at all.
Really?
I hear a singer that sounds like Snake's little brother. His inflection is a lot like Snake, but he's just screaming more. But I could tell why they picked him, because you could tell he could sing the Snake songs, because he had a similar kind of nasally kind of, especially hear it more on Phobos when he's actually trying to do the robot stuff. He sounds like a Snake sibling to me. So
I thought he sounded a little uncomfortable on Negatron. It never totally worked for me. Snake's big shoes to fill, but I thought Eric did a great job live. I saw them a couple times live on that era, in the Negatron era. And I remember coming away from that first show going, well, that's Voivod. That they did it. I mean, it doesn't seem like it should be possible to replace Blackie and Snake with one guy, but they did, and they're doing this heavier material, more abrasive material. It worked live better for me than it did on record. I don't like the drum sound at all. It's an uncomfortable record for me because it's just such. It might as well be a debut, and I think I talk about it like that in the book as
Yeah,
well.
like a
It's
reset.
kind of like a complete and utter retooling, reinvention. I appreciate it. There's some song I really like Bio TV. I really like the title track, and I really like Cosmic Conspiracy. I just think he sounds a little forced with Sean Palmerston, my good friend.
Yep. Sean rules, by
He
the
is a
way.
good
I love that
singer.
guy. I love that
Yeah,
guy. Yeah.
but he's right. The screaming he does, I don't like it either on the album. I like a lot of musical aspects. I remember getting the demos. I think I got them from Borovoy maybe. And I was just at first really excited because I never heard Voivod be that abrasive since like what Killing Roar. So that was exciting, but yeah, that album's more problematic for me. I think it all comes together on the next one.
Agreed. And really here again, I don't hear the Machine Head. I don't hear the Fear Factory. I just hear a band that's stripped down a bit. They're a little less complex, but they just went for the super heavy, but in a modern way. The drums are a little wonky sounding. The triggers are weird, but
Yeah.
I really like Eric. I think he really filled the shoes well. He did what he had to do. And even though I think it's a weird addition to this album, you got that Jim Thirlwell fetus guy doing the DNA thing where he sings on it. It's an interesting song, but it's kind of weird for this record.
These two Eric albums, they did tack on things at the end that
Yeah.
were like you could take them as part of the album or you didn't have to, you know. It's kind of weird how they did that. But that was the era of the long album and the bonus tracks and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I
Because
know, don't get me wrong. I love Eric. I certainly love him as a person. But when I saw them live on that tour, like I said, I was convinced. I'm like, I'm okay with that guy. Like, I think
yep.
and I couldn't wait for the next record. And when Phobos came out, blew me away. One of my favorite Voivod albums.
Yep. And then they did the little Nano Man thing, which I think that was an Away song. Am I correct in saying that?
He did. That's one of those rare Voivod songs where he wrote the music. Yeah.
That's another one of those songs on a record where there's so much density, and then you get a chorus like on Nano Man that's airy. It feels a little bit more lighthearted, which I think that makes the song stand out on the album a bit.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I don't know how I ended up with these, but
you got the promo of Phobos there.
Yeah,
there it is. Yeah, the promo. The promo cover is better than the actual cover.
I don't mind the actual cover. It's okay. I like the color scheme.
Away doesn't like the actual cover.
Well, we were at what year? 1997 with Phobos.
Yep.
I'll just say straight up, this to me sounds like it could have come either before. Actually, this would have been a good transitional album between Dimension and Nothing Face. In my opinion, I think it really holds up. It's in that what the hell song?
It does have the texture of Dimension. Yeah.
This song, there's some songs on here that are just crushingly heavy and they get really complex again. They have a little bit, their dynamics, they bludgeon you and then they go into this Voivodian complexity. It's just like, oh, there it is. Those tritones or trichords or whatever, diminished whatever stuff. I don't know. The Tower, what a great song. Forlorn's a great song. Your thoughts?
Tower, a favorite. Quantum, a favorite. Neutrino, a favorite. Like that. Great album. Love the album. I think I don't have anything really bad to say about it. I think Eric really comes into his own. I think Eric sounds like a proper Voivod singer. I think he slots in just beautifully there. I love the forbidding heaviness of it. It's not doom, but it's got a little bit of a drone element to it. In the sense of like that hypnosis, right? That kind of repetitious hypnosis that they do. Very different than Negatron. And again, I love that Voivod, even in this short 2-album era with Eric, are not making the same album twice. You know, they still haven't done that. Yeah, Phobos is great. I love the sound of it. It's really raw. It's really dirty.
Heavy though.
It's muffled sounding, but it's about uh, it's a very cosmic album, one of their most cosmic, and I think that's how it should sound.
Yeah, the little sound
I imagine
effects
I haven't
throughout.
been out there, but I imagine it's pretty scary out there. So it's
I don't want to.
it's a soundtrack to kind of being forgotten in space, if you will.
You let me know how
Yeah,
it is because I don't have no interest.
yeah. I'll let you know when I get up there.
But you get like Phobos. It's kind of a patient song. It's really slow, but there's like Piggy playing with that delay. Dun 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 dun. Dun. It's kind of it makes you feel. It's a cosmic feeling. It's kind of like you said. There's a droning almost hypnotic aspect to it. So when the songs get more complex, it's that much more impact. And really, Eric kind of lays off on the overt screaming. He's trying to sound more like Snake, even sounding more robotic at times. It feels to me like I said, this could have been worked into the holy trinity of Voivod albums to me. It could have been either before, could have been between Killing and Dimension, or Dimension and Nothing Face. I don't know. It has that spirit, like they're trying to channel that old spirit again. And yeah, it really bums me out. These two albums are just kind of like, just like meh. People are like meh. I don't know.
I think, yeah, at the time, I think Phobos did even less business than Negatron.
Which is
Because I
a
think a lot
better
of people were,
album. You know?
it's definitely the better album. It's funny because in the book you read it. There are fans in bands, like I think King Folly prefers Negatron. You know,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Sean Glass from Syndrome prefers Negatron. Fair enough.
Yep.
That's fine. I just yeah, it's so interesting. What about those demos they did with Eric after Phobos? I saw them play two of those songs live. Oh, this is Sean. Okay, he would
Hey
have seen
Sean,
that.
what's up, man?
I wish that demo would get released. I do too. I have 6 songs of the 12, and those songs have never been leaked. I can't even say how I got them, but I got them when I was at Maniacs back when they came out. Um, I think if people could hear, and there's a whole chapter on that album. We'll call it an album. Away allowed me to call it the Coma Demos. That's what I call the chapter, because the Eric thing, the accident, and the coma he was in, and there's a song called Coma. That album is about Eric, somewhat about Eric's experience. Um, if people could hear what came after Phobos from the 6 songs I have, and from what Away has told me, it's an easier bridge to build between Phobos and the self-titled because they go back to a little bit more of a rock thing, actually. It's great. It's good material. And I played a little bit with Voivod's permission on Radical Research number 100. I played a little bit of one song from there because it's not even on YouTube. Somehow that stuff is not leaked. It's amazing. It's too bad. I agree with Sean, and I suppose the Blue Jays are killing the Dodgers. Go Blue Jays.
Yay,
Anyway,
sports ball.
anyway, boost ball. Is it called boost ball? Baseball?
Sports ball.
Yeah, go Toronto. But yeah, I think it's too bad that that third Eric album didn't come out. I think it would have been really good, and I think it would have made a lot more sense when we look at the self-titled. So, yeah.
I gotta say that I knew there was a crash. I knew it was bad, but you don't have to go through it. People can read it in the book. But the book's retelling of it, what a horrific nightmare. What a horrific nightmare. But read the book. Read the book. Holy shit.
Available at radicalresearch.org/Voivod. Thank you.
Link in the description to go get yourself the book.
Are you going to have a link in the description?
No, it's already there. It's already there. Links in the description for the book. It's in there for Radical
You sure it's
Research.
there?
Yeah.
I'm just fucking with you, man.
Like we talked earlier, just because I thought I did, it doesn't mean I did. No, I didn't. It's there. It's there.
Hey, we're getting old, man. We're getting old.
Live Eric.
Oh, interesting. You bust that out. Okay.
I just grabbed the whole stack off the thing, but
my wife just said go sports. Look at her.
Right on. Okay. Then we go to getting the band back together, sort of. And
yeah.
Voivod.
We kind of talked about this a bit earlier. But let us say, do not overlook this album. Don't.
Yeah. 100%.
Don't worry about it. Have fun. It was made in sunny California. It was the second album they made in California because Outer Limits was the other one they recorded in California. But I just think that's where Piggy's writing was going, obviously. Again, I wish everybody knew the bridge between Phobos and this one, because the bridge was that 12-song album that never came out, and it definitely was veering into a more of a rock direction, less suffocating than Phobos for sure. A lot of great songs on the self-title. I love Rebel Robot. I love Gas Mask Revival. I've been on a way to get them to play Gas Mask live again. Invisible Sun, Strange and
Reactor.
Ironic.
Don't forget Reactor. There's some killer
Reactor's
shit.
great. Reactor's awesome.
Yeah.
Divine Sun. Divine Sun could have been on Angel Rad or Outer Limits. So yeah, great album.
And again, when this came out, I listened to the shit out of it. It's super catchy, and it's Voivod stripped down. They're embracing the rock, but they're keeping it on the heavier side. And Jason's contribution on here, I think Voivod is always, as you will read in the book, very accommodating to whoever they get in the band. They're like,
yeah,
the bass should maybe sound a certain way, but you do you. And
yep. I'm glad you got that out of it. Yeah.
For all the crap that Jason Newsted went through for being nothing but a dedicated soldier to Metallica, he went through some bullshit. And the fact that Voivod just kind of said, here, they put him really far forward in the mix. And his bass tone on this thing is awesome. It's such a heavy thunder. It's like a thunder. And it really adds to the, I don't want to say groove, because groove makes you think of like Mordred funky bullshit. It's just like this heavy weight to the songs. And he's not playing there's no real counterpoints anymore, but he's in that pocket, and him and Away are just complement each other really well. These songs really do rock, and it really allows Snake to really explore these riffs a little bit. His voice is very unique. It's very good. The choruses all ring true. I don't know. This is a really good album, and it's pretty lengthy. There's a bunch of songs on this thing. How long is it? It's an hour and 5 minutes long.
Yeah, it's pretty long. Yeah.
But it's not having heard it for a very long time. Another one of those I kind of wanted to listen to again. I'll probably circle back to it next week, but it's like a rewarding listen. It's a good, heavy, it's a fun album. It's fun. Sunny California,
And again, we're on album number 10 now, and they have not made the same album twice yet.
They have not. Yep.
How many bands can be fresh and keep going and keep evolving 10 albums in? It's, this is the nature of Voivod.
Yep. And at this point, things are on the up and up for Voivod. I think it's, very well documented in the book, the struggles that Jason had with some things going on in his life. Read the book. But Voivod themselves, Snake's back in the band, and they're kind of getting, for the first time ever in their lives, a bit of a rock star, seeing what's behind the curtain as being a rock star, the nicer buses, the whatnot.
Yeah.
But then things are finally on the up and up for Voivod. Serious tragedy hits. Holy shit. I got to say, that whole chapter, there was a few tears were shed. It's just, you really, at this point, even if you don't know Voivod going into it, you're reading this book, it kind of feels like you're getting to know these people. And then when you really can feel the sadness and sorrow of losing, well, for Snake and Away in particular, I mean, a childhood friend, essentially, teenagers. Yeah. They've been, the hell, they lived together for a very long time. They, toured together. I mean, they went through a lot of life experiences together, and all of a sudden, colon cancer. Go get checked, people. I'm one of those that need to go get checked. But God, what a absolute devastating blow.
Yeah, I used a phrase that Voivod used often. Piggy was here for that chapter, and it's just, this is an oral history. We haven't talked much about that. It's my first book that's an oral history, although there's a lot of narrative for me, probably more than your traditional.
I'm glad we're getting into this, because I did have it in my notes and I mentioned it early on and I forgot to circle back to it. So yes,
that's okay. That's okay. No, yeah, I won't get into why I decided to go that route, but I did. And but this is one chapter where I just left the narrative. I didn't do my own narrative with it at all. I figured, let's just let the people that talk throughout the book talk about Piggy.
God, you didn't need to. I mean, they were very eager to talk, it seems like, about this.
Yeah, and that was a tough chapter for me to put together. Just reading everybody's quotes and kind of like understanding the gravity again of his passing. Huge change for that band. I mean, they certainly spun out. They certainly did not have any idea that they would go on without Piggy. I think they were like a lot of us fans, where it's like you don't go on without Piggy. You just don't do it. How do you do that? You know?
Yeah.
But they did. So
they did, and leading up to this, at this point, Voivod were getting quite skilled at writing as they toured. They were, and also they get off the road and hurry up and write a bunch of stuff. Piggy and Away essentially had squirreled away like a double album's worth of material.
Right.
Which Piggy, once he realized he was sick, I apparently started working harder on it to try to get as much done as he could. And out of this series of songs, like 23 songs, I think you said in the book, it was like 23 or 26 songs. I can't remember
23.
Exactly.
Yeah. 23.
The songs that they chose out of that batch for the first treatment is the songs that end up being Kators or however you say that. This is basically a studio project at this point for obvious reasons, obvious and endlessly sad reasons. But your thoughts?
It's too easy to say it is what it is, but truly, they didn't have a whole lot of choice. They had demos to work from, and it's really hard to track drums, for instance, to guitar demos. But Away,
they weren't played to a click track.
As you've read throughout the book, Marty, Away has an affinity for memorizing and tracking.
It's mind blowing. Yeah,
just up here, it's incredible. I like Kators more than Infini, the next one, which was from those same demos. Infini lacks a lot for me, whereas Kators holds together pretty well. It sometimes gets almost too simplistic for me. Even though I like the self-titled, even though I love Angel Rat, it's just it holds together. It sounds like a proper album. It's not bad. I think Silly Clones is good. I think
After All, I really like After All too.
After All is cool. Dog Nation's cool. I really I'm a proponent. Like I'm a diehard for Polaroids, the final song. I keep trying to get them to play that live too. They never listen to me, but I keep yelling for it at shows. There you go. Yeah, beautiful. Gatefold of the vinyl version. Yep. Yeah, that was a tough era for them. Very heartbreaking era. I thought they pulled out a pretty decent album for what it was. Yeah, and Infini has some moments, but like Destroy After Reading? Yeah.
God, my eyes suck. Yep, Destroy After Reading. Yep, track 6.
That's probably my favorite on the album. I don't think that's Snake's best album. Infini. I think he sounds better on Kators for whatever reason. They recorded it a couple years later, actually, so they weren't recorded at the same time.
This album for me really held up better than I thought it would. Like I said, I haven't spun it really since it came out, and putting it on this week, I'm like, oh man, there's some bangers on here.
Yeah, good.
Another one of those things that it would have been interesting to hear how this album would have fleshed out if the band was still at the working their way through the process instead of this is it, where there's no changing at this point. This is the way it is. They didn't even repeat bars or anything. The way he put it down is the way they did it out of respect, which I think is pretty fucking cool. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Again, it shows the character of the dudes, man. They seem like really outstanding people.
I think they are.
Yep. So this is I think we mentioned the years. It was a while ago. Phobos, Voivod, Kators was 2009. Infini. Oh, I'm sorry. Kators was 2006. 2009 for Infini. So.
Yep. Interesting that it took 3 years for Infini to come out when it was based on the same demos, but they were. This is the era that they had kind of two lineups going, because they had, of course, the Newstead lineup, and that was completing Piggy's stuff. So that's that lineup. And then they were starting to get invited to do like shows, one-offs, tributes, whatever. Andreas Kisser from Sepultura was in the mix as a possibility there for a while.
That would have been interesting to hear how that panned out. Maybe he could do it. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, they got the guy.
Yeah, they got the guy.
They got Chewy from Martyr, Gorguts. He's done some other work with other great Canadian bands. Um, that yeah, I don't want to direct your thing here, but
Nope.
that's
Go for
what
it.
that's what changed Voivod's fortunes, was finding Chewy. No question about it.
And it's funny.
Oh,
Go ahead.
and Blackie comes back. Blackie
Yep.
comes back.
It's funny
Oops.
reading in there how the times that Chewy would reach out to Piggy, and it just seemed like it never panned out well for the guy.
You know what? One of those stories I had to convince him to let me put that in the book. He's like, I don't know. So there's a couple stories that nobody's really heard from Chewy about his interactions with Piggy before he was even in Voivod. And Piggy died not really knowing who Chewy was, but at least Chewy had some contact with him. And yeah.
Yeah.
Big Piggy fan, big Piggy disciple, as we all are.
Well, in a way, Blackie kind of reconnects with the guys at Piggy's funeral or
Right.
memorial service or whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
2009, nope, 13. The wheels are grinding again. Blackie's back in the band. Chewy is in the band as the official successor to Piggy's legacy. And we have Target Earth. Thoughts?
Loved it when it came out. It was definitely, I think, the only time they made a sort of attempt to return back to somewhere.
Yeah.
They had to, and they had to prove themselves with this new guitarist because all eyes were on them. I think had they gotten a different bass player, it may not have worked out. I'm glad they got Blackie back and at least had, all the living members of the original band together. I think Blackie's work on it is really good. I think the songs are really good. Mechanical Mind, I think, was the first single, and that's still one of the best songs
That's
on
a
it.
great song. That is one of the best
Yeah.
songs on the album.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's a really good album, but unfortunately, it's sort of overshadowed by what they did with Chewy after this. I don't think it compares at all to what they did after this. That's too bad. But it was a good reignition for sure. I don't listen to it that often, but when I do, I'm usually pretty happy with it. I think it's a good album. I don't like the album cover, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And for me, when this came out, I was a little underwhelmed. But it wasn't. I think it just might have been I was just in the mood for something else. I don't know, but it's been like a year or two after this came out. I would circle back around to it, and the more I just needed to invest the time. And once I start getting used to the song, there is the feel, having Blackie back in the band. There's kind of that familiarity there that I think permeates in the music a bit. And I think Chewy did a really good job. And if you're reading the book, he felt a bit reserved, even though he was given the green light. He felt a bit reserved on this one, but I think I see what you're saying. How they kind of played it a little safe here. I think they kind of needed to do that.
Yeah,
I feel that was part of it.
I think Target Earth is what it had to be, and I think Chewy couldn't assert himself fully yet. It wasn't his time yet. I think he's really good all over it, but I think it becomes Chewy's Voivod with the next thing, that the EP, because he was still, I don't know, you kind of had to, he kind of had to play the Piggy part for a little bit there. I think that's actually again, I don't know if that was a conscious thing, but I feel like that was the bridge they had to build to get to where they got with Chewy. And then once Chewy asserted himself and felt confident in being the guitar voice in Voivod, well, it's a miracle. Everything else that's come since.
It really is a miracle. I think for me, the first sticking point is produced by the band, mixed by Sanford Parker, which you got Blackie back in the band. His bass isn't as interactive. I think he does a lot more following the laying down a foundation, and his bass tone, it's an attempt at the blower tone, but it doesn't have the sharpness. It's just kind of fuzzy and blown out sounding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't have the distinct voice that, like, well, starting with Killing Technology, really, where they really refined it. But
Sure.
yeah, I think the
I will
sound of it and the fact that it felt like Blackie was, I know that Chewy had to train him on getting his fingers back on some of this stuff, but
We did. Yeah.
it just doesn't feel like he was as invested. Blackie didn't feel as invested in what he used to do anyway, compared to what he used to
I
do.
completely agree. One thing I want to add to that is that in the book, the first appendix is basically the extended discography about the live albums and things I didn't really cover too much in the main part of the book. And when I revisited the Warriors of Ice live album, which was done before the Target Earth sessions and all that, that is second era Blackie tone incarnate. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it's killer.
It's amazing. It's it might be some of his best tones ever on that live album. So, and it's produced by Glenn Robinson, who of course knew Blackie's tone intimately. I just think if you're looking for that second era and you want the best of Blackie, it's not on Target Earth. It's on Warriors of Ice. For whatever that's worth, it's a live album. Doesn't have Target Earth stuff on it, but I just can listen to that album for the bass tone alone and feel very, very happy. So yeah.
Sean's got a question here for you.
Did they record Target Earth without a record deal for it? That's how it started. Target Earth was recorded early in the year that it was recorded. Then they took a break to do Roadburn in 2000. Wait a minute. Yeah, 2012. Then they went back to do it later. So I think by the time they had finished it, they were already talking a century. But they did start it as a sort of whatever project. We're gonna record it. We're gonna see if it lands on a label. I think they were confident that it would. They just didn't know where. But yeah, that Sean's right. Yeah.
Well, the whole Blackie thing kind of spins out of control again, and yeah,
No comment.
read the book. Read the book.
Read the book.
And Chewy kind of steps up to the plate. He fully invests himself as, okay, I'm the dude. I'm the guy. I'm one of the songwriters in this band now. And I just have it in this package here, but Post Society, the EP, holy shit. What a great sounding, perfectly composed, wow, well considered full frontal assault. What a great album.
Yeah, I couldn't believe when it came out. I mean, yeah, they tacked on a Hawkwind cover of Silver Machine. I love Hawkwind. I think it's a fine song. I don't know that cover needs to be there, but
the four
originals, yeah, the four originals are unbelievable.
Great.
When that EP came out, I just was like, oh shit. Probably my favorite thing since Outer Limits. Maybe Phobos I like a lot. But man, I mean, that's just really strong stuff. And you could tell that Away Snake and Chewy had really, really connected with the chemistry and the vibe. Love the title track. I love everything about it. Forever Mountain, Fall. It's all great. We Are Connected. A lot of great stories in the book about some of those songs too. They're really inspired in terms of like their creation. And I gave a whole chapter to the EP. I wondered if I should, because the book, it
was important. I think it was important to touch on it because it was the first, this lineup kind of coming to fruition. Chewy really taking the throne.
The first Rocky. And yeah. I got to tell you, man, this Dominic LaRoche guy, fantastic. I mean, they know how to find bass players.
He's great.
Blackie, Eric, Jason, and now this guy, like pretty great track record in terms of like capability, tone, understanding of what Voivod is. Dominic was another guy. Rocky was another guy who came in as a fan. He and Chewy were at the same Nothing Face tour show. Didn't know each other then, but they were just young kids in their town of Trois-Rivières. I'm probably saying that horribly. But just what a great story. These two fans that are now in Voivod and killing it, man. Post Society is great. And there were better things to come.
And the Rocky edition, thunderous tone. A streamlined blower bass, really. It's got that rumble, that darkness, that bite. And we're back to the counterpoint. He came into the job understanding the assignment. And
yeah, oh yeah.
It rules. It's like the light switch is back on. They're like, okay, this is Voivod functioning at peak efficiency again, which is great.
And I'm listening to Post Society. I remember when that first came out, like, man, Away and Snake, you guys fucking nailed it. You got these guys, and you did the impossible by replacing Piggy and Blackie with dudes who get it, and you're creating great new Voivod. I mean, who saw that coming?
That doesn't sound like a cheap recreation. It sounds like
no,
Voivod.
no. It's not cheap. No.
Yep.
No.
All right. Well, then they put out this monster, The Wake.
That's the masterpiece of the Chewy era, in my opinion. Love it. Absolutely love it. I love the little classical flourishes it's got, especially near the end, on Sonic Mycelium. Obsolete Beings. I Conspiracy is a favorite. Just, man, I mean, all the promise of Post Society in the album. Yeah, it's fantastic. There you go. Look at that. And they kind of did that that artwork per song, the way they did for like Outer Limits and Nothing Face.
Nothing Face, yep.
So you were into The Wake when it came out?
Oh yeah, and really, this is a great album, and they put the catchiest, maybe the best song on here, that Obsolete Beings. It's just got such a catchy bend and vibe, and the way Snake interacts with the way he inserts himself into these riffs. It's just, he finds this very melodic strand in it, and it's so endlessly catchy. And they put the biggest earworm at the front of the album to hook you in, and then the rest of it it unfolds as a true blue Voivod record. Daniel, like I said, he kind of embodies the spirit of Piggy. He's a lot more clinical. He's a lot more precise. And at times goes a bit more crazy. There's some really, explore that a bit more on Synchro Anarchy. There's a lot more twisting and like, whoa, what the hell is this part? Where did it come from? And in and out, like, wow, what a insane. It's like, I got to put all the Piggy in here and then really kind of sculpt it into something fresh. And this record, wow, it just kind of like, I'm not saying Piggy who, because that's not fair, but I'm just saying, wow, you guys nailed it. How in the hell did you, in your own country, in your own town, pluck the guy out of, I mean, how many people could just jump into that position and do what he's done, you know?
Yep. Whoever this is, said Outer Limits Part 2, but turbocharged.
That's Jeff. You did a stream with him. Jeff.
I'll go with that.
Gas mask and hand grenades. Yeah.
Oh, Jeff. Okay, that's Jeff. All right.
Cheers, Jeff.
Jeff with a G.
Yep, Jeff with a G.
Yeah, the English version.
Yes. So yeah, this really, and the funny thing is here, you've got people that are all of a sudden starting to care, which I think Voivod never lost their core group of fans. There wasn't a lot of people that are like, oh, fuck Voivod. That if you're a fan of Voivod, I don't think you've ever said fuck Voivod. But here, all of a sudden, there's like this universal outcry of people that are giving them the thumbs up. Like, yes, this is. Why do you think that is?
Dude, I mean, for one, it's that Phoenix-like rebirth that they had. You know, I think there's something about that. Everybody knows that story now, and then you make a really great album. I mean, it has to be. The proof has to be in the pudding, to use a phrase that I fucking hate, but I just use it.
And all ears are on you because you're trying to replace a very strong character. You know, they
did make the album that maybe nobody thought they could make in the late in the career without Piggy, et cetera. But they did, and so they've risen, and it's also because younger, like Away in the book talks about how he sees younger kids at shows who were not even alive in the 80s, maybe not even the 90s, singing. They want the new songs, you know? They're these like younger kids that want the new shit. Like, how many times do you get a veteran band where younger kids are wanting the new stuff? It doesn't happen often. I imagine it might happen with, I don't know, Testament or something, but
Kiss. Probably not with Kiss. I take that back. I retract that.
Yeah, take that back.
How many people are like, oh, play something off Monster.
No, fuck. I'm a Kiss fan, and I'm like,
no, fuck you.
I don't even own Monster.
I don't either.
Anyway, I think that's part of it, is just the younger generation appreciating it, the older fans getting it, that it's great, and then that story, right? It's the story. It's also just tenacity. I think Canada kind of have embraced them for a while, but really with the um, I start the book proper with talking about the Canadian awards. What are they? They're like the Grammy Awards.
Juno.
The Junos. They won a Juno for The Wake, and I feel like Canada finally said, you know what? We're really proud of them because they gave us something to be proud of. Like, I don't think they gave an award to an album that didn't deserve it. You know what I mean? So I think everything just kind of fell into place. I think there was enough going on that everything, the climate was right for everything to fall into place for them. And so The Wake was certainly probably the most well-received thing they've done since Outer Limits, Nothing Face. I don't know.
I would
Good for
agree.
them, man. I was so happy that like they were kind of back on the radar and being respected, and not for nostalgic reasons. It was for this new lineup and this new era. And so that's what they're riding on to this day, So more power to them.
And I think part of that too is Chewy really dug in. I mean, you read his his input in this book. He was very much a student of the killing technology, Dimension Hatros, Nothing Face era. He talked
Sure.
about it. He fell in love with it. It made him want to play guitar type of stuff, and he studied it.
Yeah.
And that is their formative era. I mean, for guys like you and me, that is where that band is like, holy shit, this is something truly special. And I think that a lot of the Voivod fans, as much as, there is a smaller faction that loves Angel Rat, they love that era. There's even maybe a younger faction that followed Jason over from Metallica that went, holy shit, Voivod is so heavy, because they were so used to the garbage that Metallica was putting out. But they're really at this point, Chewy is like recentering Voivod into an era that people want. And he did it with grace, and they all together did it with songs that truly do embody that era, and they do so in a modern way, and they do so in a exciting, fun way it's endlessly Voivod, really.
Yeah, I mean the first couple listens to The Wake, I felt as engaged and excited and surprised as I had when they were putting out Killing Technology or Dimension. Like, it just felt like, again, still fresh. Like, how is this possible? But
Yep.
There they are. Yeah.
So Synchro Anarchy had to come out. They were under the gun to get this done, and they did a lot of the writing for this album on the road.
Yeah.
And 2022, this thing dropped. And really, you said a lateral move. I would agree, but I think there are some compositions on here that are structures, songs that are just way crazier. There's a bit of chaos on this record, but they harness it. But there's just, like I said, some riffs that like come in. It's like, whoa, I didn't see that one coming. He just really, it's a bit more aggressive too at times, especially
definitely. Yeah.
the Paranormalium. That song is a very aggressive start. They kind of just jump right into it, and they start hacking and slashing with the sledgehammer left over from the Roar sessions. I don't know. It's just, what are your thoughts?
Well, I love it. When I call it a lateral move, that was my first impression of it, I think, when it came out. I've now since come around a lot more to Synchro Anarchy in terms of being its own entity. It's probably my most listened to Voivod album in the last few years, or while writing the book. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. And again, it shows Chewy exerting even more influence on the band's sound. Completely 100% Voivodian. I feel like he's the only guy that could take them where they've gone. And
I really believe that. I really believe he's the only one.
Especially near the end of this album, like some of his stuff's just batshit fucking crazy. Like, and I just love that. I love that he's throwing this. He's keeping the weird in Voivod, because that's what they need. That's what they always need. And I have a great fondness for Synchro Anarchy. I think it, especially under the conditions it was made. It was made under pressure. It was made during COVID. It was a pressure situation that they lived up to. They were like, kind of under the gun, and bam, they put it out, and it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a fantastic album. I don't think it's a lateral step so much as I do it's a companion to the Wake. The Wake is a little more elaborate, has a little bit more that modern classical feel. Synchronarchy is a little bit more to the point and maybe a little bit drier, but I do think they're companion albums in the very best way. I mean that in a very good way. So yeah, cannot wait to see where they go next.
It's
That's where
interesting.
we're at. That's where we're at.
And I'm really with you on this one too. I really ended up liking this, and it just took me a few more listens because I think there's a lot to unpack. That which is a good thing. Like I said, there's some complexity that's entering again, which I personally find a bit refreshing. I don't mind the rock era of Voivod, but I definitely prefer them a little bit more complex and pushing the boundaries a bit.
Sure.
Eric kind of brought up I read this in the book. I didn't even know they did this. I don't know how I missed this, but these hypercube sessions.
Oh yeah.
That really helped solidify the band during COVID. Yeah, I guess in the book you said they did all of Nothing Face and they did all of Dimension Hatros. I need to see these things, I guess. Are they on YouTube?
Yeah. I remember the first hypercube session. It was the kind of thing where you had to pay to get in. I remember paying. I could have asked to get in free, but I wanted to support because I thought what they were doing was so important. And I think it was $14 or something. It was really cheap. And I remember, that we're all sitting there in COVID. The first year of it, and we hadn't seen live shows. We hadn't, everything's different. And Voivod came on, and I remember it feeling so like it was kind of a reminder that everything's gonna be okay. Like we're all gonna be okay. This can still happen. We can still commune together. And I'm not the biggest, I don't need metal to be communal or music to be communal. I'm very much a sit in my hi-fi room and just be by myself. Fucking leave me alone. But I will say that it felt really good to see all the comments going on while people were watching and listening, and just feel a togetherness. And I don't want to get too cheesy here, but it just felt like everything was going to be okay. And I remember my wife was over my shoulder. We were watching it together, and just it felt so good. And they were one of the first metal bands to do this. I think other artists in other genres were doing it, but they were pretty early on in terms of offering this sort of live show that we could all watch together live streaming. It was great. And then they did two more, and it was it was really special. Yeah. And I cover that pretty well in the book. Yeah. So Eric Massacote, who you mentioned, he was very helpful in this book. He took a lot of photos that I used. He helped transcribe the interviews with Christine D'Amour, Piggy's sister. And just really helpful guy overall. Big fan, and I appreciate him a lot.
Nothing is worse than transcribing interviews. That is the worst thing on earth.
So you and I have talked about this. I don't know why I love transcribing interviews.
I love it. Listen to my own stupid voice. Oh God. Why anybody watches this? Why do you watch this, people? Crazy. Listen to my fat head. Anyway, and that leads us to, which I didn't own. It's on the way now though. Morgoth Tales came out in 2023. Pulling that one up. I could share it so people can see the cover if you're not familiar. Share screen. Oops. Tab. Morgoth Tales. Share. There it is. Morgoth Tales.
There it is. Yep.
And this is
here's the thing. I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it.
Well, they hired me to write the liner notes for it, which I was completely freaking honored by. I think I'd already been, I've been writing the book, so I guess I was maybe an obvious one, but the the very selfish and greatest thing for me about it was I saw the first show on that very short tour they did for Morgoth Tales in the US right after it came out in Asheville, North Carolina. And it was the first time they ever played Nuage Fractale. So I got to see a Voivod song played from Angel Rat that was played for the very first time in their history, which stupid nerd ass geek fucking crap right there. But I was it's just like, I am there. I was right there. So that's my biggest takeaway. That was a great day because I got to see them play Pre-Ignition on the sound check, and Rocky
Great
gave
song.
me a bunch of their new guitar picks that they had made. They even made a guitar pick for Snake, which is kind of a joke. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's a pretty special album because I think like a lot of metal fans or music fans, I'm not really into re-recordings of albums or songs. I think the originals stand, but I think with this new lineup being so dynamic, as you and I have been talking about, they might as well. And they did Condemned to the Gallows. They did, and there's a great story about Condemned to the Gallows in the book that I think people are going to love.
Yeah.
They did Nuage Fractal. They did Rise from Phobos. They with Eric singing.
Eric actually singing. Yep.
They did Rebel Robot.
He
with
sounded
Jason
great
Newsted
too. He sounded like he hasn't missed a step,
Yeah, and Jason Newsted played bass on the new version of Rebel Robot. So very cool. It's all good. Yeah, I love Morgoth Tales. I think it works, and I think the new song's good. I think the PIL cover's great.
It's really great. And I'm a Pill
Yeah.
fan. I'm a Pill fan. I've always liked them. And they, like I said, they made it their own, but still Snake has got a very close connection. You could tell that Johnny was an influence for sure.
I think Home is my second favorite Voivod cover. Astronomy is my first, but I think Home is my second. I love what they did with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, still inventing and reinventing, and there they are.
I really got to say, I'm with you on, I could give a crap less about remakes, but listen to this. This is the first time I heard it this week. I put it on the Apple Music there. And the first thing I took away from it is how good it sounded, how good the band sounds, how good Chewy does navigating those songs. But Snake's voice, it's like he hasn't diminished. He really has not diminished. I don't really hear.
I think he's gotten better than some. Like I don't love him on Infinity. Like I feel like he got better when Chewy came into the band. I don't know if that's inspiration or just a rejuvenation, but yeah, I think he's sounding great these days. No doubt about it.
Yep. Even the younger, the earlier songs where they did Ripping, which one they did?
Thrashing Rage.
Thrashing Rage. Second song on the album. It's like,
yep,
pretty damn good for all the yelling and screaming he did back then. He can still do it if he needs to,
all that hooting and hollering.
Yeah, all the hooting and hollering. But yeah, we anxiously as Voivod fans await whatever they give us next. Is it going to be an obtuse change into something else? Is it going to be just another great in the same vein as what we've had Voivod album? Any speculation?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I have no idea. Yeah.
So Jeff, for you, obviously we're kind of at the close of a chapter of a monumental thing you've done here again. What is the takeaway? What's the takeaway from all this? What did you learn? Some new things? Did you obviously you're proud of this or you wouldn't have put it out, but I mean, did it turn out the way you anticipated it would?
Yeah. Honestly, and I told a few people this, but nothing public. When I'm done with all the previous 3 books I've done, I'm tired of them. I've read them hundreds of times.
Well, editing your own shit is the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it's hard to get that objective view, that sort of like distanced viewpoint you need, that objective thing you need. And with this one, I think because of the fire and all the shit that I went through, there was some time between the completion of it. Although I did add a couple chapters. I added the symphonic chapters, the stuff they did earlier this year.
Yep.
But basically, when I went through the final read through about 3 months ago, and just made goddamn sure every comma was where it needed to be, and all that stuff. I read it as if I was a fan reading it for the first time, and I didn't know that would happen, but I was excited. I was like, "Oh, this is really good!" Like it excited me, and that's not happened in my read throughs of my previous books. So that answers your question. Like I'm really happy with it, and I could not wait to get it out to other Voivod fans. I'm also really happy that I decided to go the oral history route, which I think. I've read a lot of oral histories, and the ones that inspired me to do it One of them was a book on Saturday Night Live called shit, I'm forgetting it now.
Hold on,
Damn
we have
it.
the internet.
I would have loved to remember that because it's one of my favorite books. I'm blanking. It's late. Um, Live from New York. Live from New York is what it's called. It's an
Yep,
oral history. But what I liked
complete
about it was
uncensored loading.
it's great. It's
Yeah,
great. And I'm a big fan of that whole institution. And like when I read it years and years and years ago, it made me think, I think at some point I want to try an oral history, okay? Because the narrative of the authors was really powerful, but there wasn't enough of the narrative of the authors there to fill in the quotes, the naked quotes. And then I read a No Means No book that came out 2 years
that's another
ago.
band you turned me on to. Thank you for
Oh
that. What a
fuck.
great fucking band. Holy shit.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Voivod, Rush, and No Means No in terms of Canada for me.
Yep.
That's the triumvirate. But I read their book, and that's an oral history. Very good, very powerful. Again, not enough narrative though. And then I've read some really lazy oral histories where they're just the Scott Burns one was good by David Gelke, very good.
Very fun.
But it's still not enough narrative. I want to hear more of the author's voice. So what I tried to do with this one was put my voice in a lot, not out of ego, but just out of having a voice to thread all these oral histories together. And so I really feel like I accomplished that, and I'm really proud of it. And the first time I tried the oral history route was with an Arcturus box set that I did. They hired me to do the Stars in Oblivion box set, and I did an oral history kind of as a testing ground, and it worked really well. I really liked it a lot. I love the outcome of it. So I thought I'd do the Voivod book like that. I didn't start the Voivod book like that at all. In fact, it started like a normal biography, like the Fates or the Soul and Fire. Um, but I think it works really well, and I hope people like it.
Well, if they've been following you anytime, you're gonna like it. Like I said, it is a very, I don't want to say an easy read because that might seem like an insult some way, but no, it just feels like you're in the room on some of these discussions, which I really appreciated. Um, like I said, there's the world is so hungry on conflict and getting the scoop. It just felt like it didn't need to go there, and it's not really that type of band or those type of people, but we're there for the music. If you're a Voivod fan, you're there because you have a very profound connection to what this band has done over the years.
Sure.
And
Yeah, sure.
like I
Sure.
said,
Well,
I can't imagine another person that was more well suited for this. I mean, like I said, toe fungus. I would read a book that you wrote on toe fungus, but on this here,
look,
this
I
is
mean,
perfect. This is a perfect
I
union.
I remember being a 15-year-old snot-nosed kid getting into War and Pain and vibing on Condemned to the Gallows, and sometimes I can't believe I'm the guy that gets to write the book, and I'm immensely proud. I'll take this one to the grave with me. So, yeah.
Right on. Well done, folks. The link to the uh, buy the book is in the description. Please go and snag yourself a copy. Hopefully Europe, that will be sorted out soonish. Hopefully there's some books over there for you to get. Hopefully, fingers
Yeah, I'm
crossed.
trying. I'm
Yeah.
trying.
Do what you can do for sure. And
Yeah.
anything to speculate coming up for you writing wise?
I'm ghostwriting for somebody that I can't mention, but he's a metal personality that I really support and love, and think it's going to be a great book, and it's going to be a different kind of project for me because it's sort of I'm in the background and putting it together. I think I'll be. He wanted me to have a byline with him, so maybe I will. And then there's somebody else who wants me to do the same thing for them, and a much larger personality. So maybe I'll do that for a while because self-publishing is really exhausting, and I've got my life's been such chaos the last year, and I want to try to do things that are a little bit less oh, I don't know, that demand the obsessive compulsive come out in me. I would rather the normal person come out in me. So maybe ghostwriting's my next couple books, but we'll see. I still have a lot of ideas. I still want to do in the perfect world. I would have I'd do the Anathema book
Mm.
because it's another massive band for me who I think have a great story,
Hmm.
who don't have a book yet, and one I want to read, and that's the impetus for all my books. So I'd love to do that. I probably would have to do that independently, because there's certain factions within that band right now. So I don't know how that would work out, but
Well,
um,
bands are like
that's
a
a dream.
family. They don't always get along.
That's a dream. Yeah, maybe in 5 years I'll be talking about that with you. I don't know. We'll see.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
And before we pull the plug on this, I do want to touch base on the fantastic radical research. What do you guys got coming up? You and Hunter, of course, are killing it. Always love the time spent listening to you guys talk about metal.
That's been such a dream. Like it's an extension of our friendship and the conversations we used to have. And now it's like, Hunter has said every Agalock show he plays, there's not been one where somebody comes up to him all excited and he thinks it's because of Agalock, and it's actually about radical research,
Right on.
which is crazy. It's
Yeah.
just a fucking podcast where we geek out like hell, and it's been a lot of fun, and we have endless ideas for the next 75. So
Awesome.
we're gonna at least get to 200. It's a lot of fun, and I appreciate your enthusiasm and Alan's enthusiasm for it. We're really into it. I wish we could be more prolific, but we both have lives in progress, and I think that's one reason we don't come out every 2 weeks like we used to. But we try to make it count, and the next one's going to be recorded next week, and it's going to be on that German band Dark Millennium.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which is a certain challenge for me because I was never really, I don't really know that much about them, and we only do things that I know shit tons about. But there were so many radical research listeners that were like, "When's the Dark Millennium show coming?" I'm like, "I guess when I get into the band, I don't know." I just they kind of passed me by, and I started listening to them. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, they're pretty damn good." Wow. So um, that's the next one. We have a ton of ideas coming up. So.
Awesome. Well, much love to you guys.
Marty,
Anything
this
we
has
can do
been
to
just like
support?
hanging out with you, talking Voivod. This has been great, man. I love you.
Love you too, man. And it's
I love you
awesome.
so
I'm glad
much.
we could do this. Thank you
Yeah,
for letting me see the book a little sneaky peek ahead of time. And it was
sure, man.
fantastic.
Sure.
But cheers, everybody in the chat, for joining us and throwing some questions and stuff at Jeff. We appreciate you. If you're new here, hey, hit that bell, subscribe, all that crap.
Oh yeah, no. Heavy Metallurgy is fantastic. If you want an endurance test and you want to like really school yourself, watch the ones with S. Craig Zoller, our buddy Zoller.
Yeah, we got
Those are
together
fun.
and talked about the new Nile for 3 hours. That was awesome. And then the 6-hour long Blue Oyster Cult, where Craig
Oyster Cult
sings
show.
every song for 6 hours. So
Here's Debbie Denise. Yeah.
Frankenstein.
You gotta love him. You gotta love him. You gotta
Oh, I
love him.
love him to death. But don't hang up. We're going to talk for a minute. Everybody, cheers. We'll see you next week. Album Club Wednesday is the new corner. Dissonance Theory. So we're going to be talking about that.
It's good.
I've only heard about 3/4 of it, and it is good. I was surprised. I shouldn't say that. That sounds mean, but man, Grin is another one of those records that shit in my cereal. Anyway, we'll talk about that next week. Everybody, please go support our friend Jeff Wagner and go support Radical Research. We will see you all next week on Heavy Metallurgy. Take care. Anything else you want to add before we jump? I'm kind of running us off the road because I have to pee. Is there anything that you good? Everything? Do we get everything covered? All right. Cheers, everyone. Bye.